you. Oh, we're live. I love you. I love you. All right, let's see what toys are working here. Let's screen share a bit. Yep. Come on, desktop. Yeah. Oh no, that won't work. Oh, let me try to fix that. Yes, let's not do that. I love you. I love you. Okay, I guess everybody's just gonna have to watch me. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I love you. I love you. All right, if you join early, you gotta sing along with me. You don't even know this song. Yeah. No, we can't. Right here, right now. Horns. Oh, here's a whole bunch of worship song nobody knows. No, you are praying now for the Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, amen. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. Okay, I'm giving up on this lower thirds thing. It's not going to happen. Persecuted, not abandoned. Oh, I'm joining myself. Hey, Given, are you here? And why am I not seeing your comments in the other one? Cindy, I see your comment. And Given, I see that you say that it's working. But I don't see your question over here, so I got to figure this out. That's in the Q&A. Seeing myself in delay over here. Given, if you're online right now, hop in and chat. I'm trying to figure this out. It's my first one. I'm shaking me. I'm standing next to me. Now listen now. Joy comes in the morning. Ah, okay, got it. Select the button to answer the question. I'm figuring it out. Hey, now what do I do? I selected it. Oh, come on. I see what it's doing. Well, let's unanswer it. Joy is up. Joy is here. Wake up. Joy is here. Wake up. Up. Okay. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. Okay, guys, my first Google Hangout, so if you're there, I ain't seen you yet. I'll figure it out. So I'm going to sing along to some worship stuff because it's the funnest thing in the world. And if you join, do something a little chatty window. Let me see if I can figure this thing out. And sing along. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, amen. Oh, everybody's going to wish they came early to sing to the sing-a-thon. Amen. Yes, yes, Lord, amen. Yes, yes, Lord, amen. Oh, 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 oh. All right. Amen, 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 amen. Woo! Got to get all the gospel out of the way and go to the contemporary. Last 5 minutes. I am here using the Ask a Question button. Okay. All right. I'm not sure if we're in there. How do we get the chat button? Let me figure it out. Yeah, take that. I don't know if anybody can see the chat window. There's the help. There's the Q&A. Push the place, bust the place. Yes! All right. Not quite sure what I just did there. No, I don't see how you get into the stinking chat window. Oh, whoa. Okay, if anyone's joining and knows how to do a Google Hangout, I want to get the chat up for everybody. I guess the chat is only for me to see, but how do you chat? You can only ask questions, right? Wow. The YouTube didn't tell me. And if you're just joining us, we're in our pre-worship phase. Music you don't sing at your church. Well, not this version, I bet. If you do, I want to know. I want to visit. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns over heaven and earth. We reign. Glorious, victorious. I used to know the words to this so that I could sing along with this. There ain't no stopping us now. Okay, so I guess some people are on. This is my first Google Hangout. Can you tell? If you're online, I'm trying to figure out how I can see your questions. I want to get the chat going before we kick off at 6:30 here. Oh, but Google can only teach an old girl so many new tricks. Love us made me victorious. Move away the fear in us. There ain't no. Oh, I got all sorts of people popping in. I wish I could see you guys' names. All right, so we're in the pre-worship phase. If you know the Kirk Franklin version of this song, you should be singing along. For me, it's like a white girl wishing she were not. And I'm trying to figure out the Google Hangout. So worship along with me while I try to push some buttons. God is an awesome God. He reigns. He reigns. This is why everybody should have about a 200-person choir in their church. He reigns. He reigns. He reigns. So if anyone knows how that I should get my chat window up, I don't know if you guys are supposed to see that. I see the questions. I don't know. We're going to kick off here in about 2 minutes. He reigns. He reigns. All right. For those of you just joining us, we're going to kick off here. Maybe I may have to wait till this song ends. Oh, alada, alada. He rides. Now, come on. If you never heard this song before, you got to know this part by now. He rides. He rides. He rides. Forever and ever. He rides. He rides. He rides. Forever and ever. Okay, for those of you just joining us now, yes? I'm doing a karaoke night. No. Our God. I'm waiting for the song to end. Because I just don't think you can stop Kirk Franklin. He's kind of like a train. You know what I mean? God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. 15 seconds. Thank you, Kirk Franklin, for kicking us off. My name is Kim Snyder. Thank you guys for joining me for my very first Google Hangout on air. Can you tell? All right, so you're gonna have to suffer along with me if you would be so kind. And I'm gonna pop on some windows and try to get everybody's questions answered. So let me kick it off by telling you a little bit about who I am, just in case you don't know. My name is Kim Snyder. I am a certified vocal coach and also a vocal repair instructor over at The Voice Club, which is my vocal studio. Oh, look, it's on the wall. There you go. I've also been involved in worship almost my whole life, because I've been traveling and singing with my sisters in a little family group. We used to do like revival meetings and stuff. We were 4, 5, and 6. And then started, gosh, I've been in choir, on worship team, or leading worship or something ever since then. You know, like a lot of you that have been involved in church worship, you've been involved for a very, 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 very long time. And so I work with vocalists all the time. I work with repairing speaking voices and singing voices. And this is one of my frustrations. I worked as a professional vocalist outside of Christian music and inside, and worship inside and out. And what I found was, singers as a whole, we don't like to tell people we have a problem with our voice, because we're pretty sure that it's only a problem for us, and it's probably not even a real thing anybody can fix, and we don't want anyone to know about it if they don't already know, so we never ask for help. So we're kind of like that anyway, us singers, because you do kind of have to put it on the line when you get in front of people and sing, do you not? So but in the church, it's worse. It's worse because you get people that are really what most people believe to be really good singers, and they'll be up there singing and they're having problems with their voice, and they have questions about, why is this happening, why is that happening, and there's nobody to ask, because if you ask, it's kind of like you're fishing for a compliment. Oh, I didn't feel like, I just didn't go for that note, it just didn't come out the way I wanted to. Oh no, you sounded wonderful. So we don't say things like that, right? So we're so humble to a fault that we kind of cause extra problems in the church. So I really have, not only because of my background, but just because I work with so many singers, and I love to worship. I have a special passion for singers in the church, and I want there to be a lot more vocal education out there. So here's kind of the overview of what we're going to do in our very first Google Hangout free vocal masterclass. Tonight, I really want it to be a Q&A. So if you haven't already entered, there's a Q&A button you should be able to click. Oh, good. So ask your question if you're on there. I have a bunch of other questions from people earlier so that I'm going to be answering. And if you're here and you can hear and you can click that Q&A button, that would be wonderful. I know there's a way, and like I said, my first one, I know there's a way I'm supposed to get people to join. I can get you guys to join. And you know, now that I tested this all last night, and now I'm not figuring it out. So, don't know what to tell you. So, looks like you guys, there's a group chat, but I don't see how you're seeing that either. So, okay. I'm thinking the best way, probably the way that when I'm looking through the window that you guys are looking at, it looks like the Q&A window is probably the best place to ask questions. I'm not sure if you guys can see the group chat or not. So we're going to go through some questions. If you have some, put them out there. And I want to talk to you guys too a little bit about the most common questions I hear from singers in general, and this definitely applies to singers in the church. Singers have so many of the same questions, and I was talking to somebody in a session the other day, and they were saying, well, I have all these questions, but I'm just starting out. I haven't really sung any place, so that's why I have these questions. And I told them I've worked as a professional singer since I was 15. I started singing in the studio and fronting bands at 16, and then I did an indie label thing and opened for Sonic Flood and Super Chick, if you remember who they are at this point, and did a bunch of festival stuff. So I've been a session vocalist and a live vocalist for hire doing all sorts of music, and then I've done Christian stuff. And I've been at all those levels where you're just doing recreational stuff, and then you're doing stuff for your choir, and then you're going to sing at a coffee house, and then you get an opportunity to do something big, and then you go sing in front of 500,000 people. So I've been in all those places, and I've always been really wanting to know the answers to my own questions. And before I knew the answers to my questions, I wanted to know if anyone else maybe had some questions. And I am the why girl. I will sit in the front row, raise my hand, and ask why. Teachers hated me. So in all those opportunities that I've had a chance to take a part in through the years, I always would quiz the singers. I always quizzing the singers and say, oh, when you did this thing, you did this little trill and you went up to that high part. How did you do that? Was that easy? Was that hard? When you went for that power note, was that hard? Are you worn out? Have you lost your voice? And I didn't have the answers to why any of those things would happen, but I just wanted to know, am I alone in the world, or are other singers having these problems too? And so way before I had the vocal education that I had now, way before I was training, way before I was training other voices, I discovered that singers at a professional level have the exact same questions as people that are maybe just starting to sing in their choir. And a lot of people who don't consider themselves to be great singers are really usually surprised to find out that professional singers have questions about their voices at all. They do. Usually they get vocal damage, they get kicked off a tour, and then they have to go find somebody who has the answers. That's usually when that happens. If any of you know about, sorry guys, I just got done teaching for hours and I'm all dried out. Phil Wickham. Most of you know what's been going on with his voice, and he had some vocal damage, and he's I think by now he's had vocal surgery. What happened in his voice is extremely common for worship leaders. So if you're a worship leader joining us tonight, please pay special attention to some of the things I'm going to tell you, because it will save you from going down the road to damage. Damage is polyps, nodules, nodes. Basically, they're all bad things that sit on your vocal cords and crush your dreams, just like the movie Pitch Perfect. It's true. That's what vocal nodes do. Okay, so again, I am Google Hangout challenged. It's my first one tonight. I know some more of you have joined us, so if you have questions, put them in the Q&A window. Unless you somehow can see the group chat, I'm not seeing that you see it, but get them through to me somehow, because I will answer every single question we get. Until I get more that come in, I'm going to answer all the ones that have already come in so far, and we'll do this as long as we need to. It's a lot more fun if I can get interaction from people, so I'm really hoping to figuring out the technology. It's one of the things I teach speakers not to say. Means you're not prepared. Okay, so question. Let's talk about the number one question I get from singers in general. Why don't I sound better? Okay, we all at any level can understand this one, because we have had this question. And if maybe you're a worship leader and you're at a massive mega church, you've had those Sundays, those times in a certain song, you're at a certain event, you're doing something, you're like, why? Why sometimes does it come out and I'm like, yes, I've been blessed by the Lord with this great talent. And then I go to sing that song the next time and it's like a train wreck. Now, the better you get at disguising the train wreck. So people always say, I don't know why you think you have a problem, because it sounds beautiful all the time. Your voice is so wonderful. I wish I could be you. But the truth is, you can feel it when something's going off. You feel it, you know it. It doesn't matter if people hear it or not. You know it. And that little small voice in your head that's saying that did not go as planned, that did not go as well as it did the last time I sang that, that is a really important red flag for you, because that is something that tells you something is off. And we refer to it in the Voice Club as vocal balance. Vocal balance is basically I always think of somebody doing Pilates or yoga or something like that, you know, when they can just walk out on a tight rope and they do the yoga pose and they're really strong. I mean, they're really, really strong. They're very flexible and they're very coordinated, but every motion can be smooth and just look really seamlessly easy, like ballerinas and some dancers and stuff. Everything just looks effortless. But there's a lot of muscle coordination, endurance, and flexibility under there. Now, if you were doing the yoga pose, whatever yoga pose you prefer, and you're hanging on a wire and you're down in, I don't know, make up some yoga pose name because I'm not a yoga person. You're doing that, and one muscle group yanked one way or one muscle group just kind of petered out, you would fall off of the wire. It's what would happen because it takes the muscle conditioning, muscle strength, the flexibility, coordination, all of those things working together in harmony in order for you to hold that pose and make motion smooth and seamless. Well, here's the thing with the voice. The vocal cords are not actually cords, and they're not muscle. The vocal cords are little fibrous tissues. They're as thin, literally as thin as tissue paper. So the next time you stuff some of that in a gift bag, think about this. This is how thin my actual vocal cords are. Now, another little interesting factoid is your vocal cords are not really very long. If you look at the nail bed of your thumbnail, our fingers and everything is all different sizes. So it's very unique to you. Not your fingernails, ladies, but your actual fingernail bed. If you'll look at the length of your fingernail bed, that is the length of your personal vocal cords. It's very, very fascinating. So they're really, really thin. They're very, very slimy. If all goes well, they're slimy, and they work by being thick and open when you're at a ah in the morning when you get up, and they thin and zip and come together. Ah, that's what they do. But they're not muscles. They're just fibrous tissues, teeny, teeny, thin little fibrous tissues. So how do they do the thinning and the zipping and making all the beautiful sound? They do it because outside of the vocal cords are two groups of vocal muscles, and they are literally doing all the work in the background. They are what's responsible for the quality of your singing voice. It's very much like this happens all over the body, but I'll give the arm as an illustration. If you have a bicep and a tricep, you have two different muscles, right? But in order to do one of those fancy dancy moves, or to do weightlifting, if you're going to hold a barbell and then let it down slowly, it requires the muscle strength, coordination, flexibility of both of those muscle groups working together in order to make that happen. If it were me, because I don't have much muscle strength, coordination, or flexibility in my arms or my legs, or probably anything else but my vocal cords, it'd be like, and if I tried to let it down, it would be like, well, sometimes that's what happens to our notes. We get a note going and it just kind of falls apart on us. It's because of the muscles, the vocal muscles that work the vocal cords, literally not knowing when to trade off and who does what, and am I in here? Are you in there? You got this? It's like a relay race, where they hand off the baton. If the guy that's supposed to grab the baton isn't sure when to grab it or how to grab it, it might happen, might not. This is actually what's happening in your voice when sometimes you nail a song. Sometimes it's a train wreck. It's that those muscles aren't sure. They're not really sure, and maybe they happen to just guess right one week. Maybe they guess right most of the time, but because they're not sure what they should be doing, who should be doing what, eventually what's going to happen is somebody's going to drop the baton. And if you're lucky, you cover it so that nobody hears it, but you will always know. So we always think if people hear my voice crack or my note go flat or something, it's going to be worse because you know that they hear. I don't know. I made plenty of heard and unheard mistakes, and I just think they're all just as bad, because when you miss something, when something doesn't come out the way that you thought it was going to come out, you feel that, and I think that's ultimately the worst. All right. So yes. Oh, thank you, Given, for we were talking about Phil Wickham. And I'm not sure if you posted that question before I started talking about that or not, but I am going to tell you, absolutely, I would not be doing you a service if during our time tonight I did not tell you what went wrong with Phil Wickham's voice and how he could have avoided it and how you can too. I'm going to tell you that. I'm keeping it a secret. I'm making note. Keep the secret till the end. I'm bad at keeping secrets. So this will be good. Okay. So back to vocal balance. This is the source of what all that is lovely or all that is horrific in a singing voice and honestly in a speaking voice. If those two muscle groups, the vocal muscles, don't know what they're doing, they aren't sure how to do it, they're not strong, they're not flexible, they're not coordinated, and they're not sure who's doing what when, what happens is sound can't be produced in a way that we would just like it to happen. And studies, there's all sorts of studies on natural born singers, and that's a whole different topic for a whole nother time. But if you take people that seem to sing naturally, beautifully, easy, they're all over the place, and it just seems so effortless, and you'd be like, I don't know, how'd you do that? I don't know, I just always been able to do that. I had a singer tell me that once, and I was back when I was I was on my search for knowledge as a singer, and I was like, oh, dang, that means I just stink and I'm never getting better. Because I guess if I don't have it, I'm never going to have it. Have you heard that one? If you don't have it, you just don't have it. If you're talented, I mean, it just comes out and it's beautiful. And if it doesn't just come out perfectly, well, then you just don't really have any talent. You should probably just not be on the worship team, right? It's so not true. If you, ladies, in particular, ladies, if you were to say, I don't know, when I roll out of bed in the morning, guys, this does apply to you too. I roll out of bed in the morning and I am just not as beautiful as I can be, I must just not be lovely. I should just walk around with my hair in a nest and just not bother putting makeup on. It's the same thing. The voice works because of muscle coordination, flexibility, strength, all of those things. And if we don't do what we want to be able to do as a singer, it's because we either don't have the right training or we don't have our training implied or enacted in what we're trying to do. And the result is sound that we don't necessarily want people to hear us make. Right? Okay, so there are several key questions that happen all the time in singers in the church. And the first one, I'm gonna go ahead and do it first. I was going to anyway, and it ties into the Phil Wickham thing. So, oh, somebody's on their iPad. Yes, I can see you. Okay. I can see somebody. I see that there are people there, but I'm not seeing questions from everybody. So if you're there and you're listening, pop in a question. I'm going to answer them all. So one of the singers we get, especially from worship leaders, which are even less likely to look for solutions for problems in their voice. As a past worship leader, I can tell you it is true because we feel the obligation to be perfect. We feel the obligation to just keep going. And then you remember back when some of you remember back when there used to be Sunday school and one service, and now there are 5 services, and worship is 6 times longer than it used to be. And if you're the worship leader, you're just supposed to go, 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 go Saturday night, all day, Sunday, Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever you got, Thursday. Oh, well, we got a special Friday night service coming up. You're supposed to be able to do it all with no problem because you're hired to do that. So you're not going to say, oh, by the way, I'm losing my voice and I might have a problem here. No. I went through a medical situation where they actually nicked my right vocal cord and damaged it, prolapsed it, just basically deflated that muscle, and saw it was a wonderful opportunity. I met with some of the nation's most famous vocal surgeons and had some great time to be able to talk to them and ask them some of my deep vocal questions, which because I study the anatomy of the voice all the time. So it was a great learning time, but it was also a frustrating time because they told me I was never going to be able to sing again. I was never going to be able to speak again. Clearly, they were wrong. They didn't know what I was up to in training voices, and I'm able to speak because of it. But when we have our identity, whether you're a worship leader or you're on a worship team or you do a lot of things, speaking, any combination of those things, your voice is part of your identity. And when it is also part of your job, if it's in danger, you just don't really want to say anything. It's like saying, I go to work and say, by the way, I might be out sick for like a year. Is that okay? Can I come back to my job? By the way, I had to not speak or could not speak for a little over a year. And no, my job was not there waiting for me when I came back. So we understand why worship leaders in particular don't want to mention something if they have problems in their voice. And the number one problem that worship leaders have in their voice is pain, strain, or hoarseness, which really are all in the same camp. Now, this is really important. And like I said, we're in the era where we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 services in a row, and everybody's singing stuff and in keys, honestly, that they shouldn't be. And maybe I'll put that put that down if anyone gets around to what key. Anyone, by the way, hint, hint, anyone wants to ask the question, what key is the perfect key to sing in? If you ask that, I will tell you toward the end. Make myself a note just in case you ask. If you're not going to ask, I'm not going to tell you. Okay, so we have not only worship leaders, although it is the #1 problem for worship leaders, but anyone who tends to lead out on a song or considers himself to have a strong, powerful voice, or is a loud mouth like me, I'm a loud mouth, right? We get out there and we sing, and we're singing a lot, and then what we find is we have strain. We feel like we have to shove notes out, and it's painful sometimes or always, and sometimes to always we can have hoarseness after a service, between services, or it used to be for me that I would go out and do event bands, and I would be singing Aretha till 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd be at worship rehearsal at 6 a.m. and I'd get through the 3rd service, and I'd be fine. And then by the 3rd service, after the 3rd service, I couldn't speak, and I would not talk until the next day. And the other thing you should know, besides at the time, I was a professional session singer, a live gigging vocalist, and a professional voice talent, which I still do. Which, you know, you're the people that say, let's see, I'm the voice on your Sprint phone that says, you have 5 messages. You know, that's what it is. It's using your voice. So it was a real problem for me to try to figure out, why am I losing my voice? Because I kind of need it. Now, here's the interesting thing. I'm going to tell you why worship leaders in particular, but many of you who are on worship teams, why you have pain, strain, and hoarseness, which sometimes leads to laryngitis, because that is exactly what I'm going to tell you. What causes that is what caused Phil Wickham's vocal damage. But when I had those issues before, outside of getting hoarse after like singing all night and then going 3 services, I figured I just could go forever, and that was where I tapped out, and then I should take a break because I couldn't speak anymore. That must mean it's time to rest. Well, I found out later through all these other things that happened way later in life, and I had already, you know, corrected my vocal technique, and then went through this surgery issue where they literally handicapped my voice and was trying to get that repaired. What I found, I've been vocal scoped. I've had the video camera down my vocal cords so many times, dozens and dozens of times. And what they told me is, when I always go in, and then they say, you know, I let them know what I do and what I teach, and high-level vocal surgeons know about the technique that I teach and stuff, and so we get into conversations about that a lot, and then they will look at my cords and they'll say, what did you, before you trained voices, what was your bad habit? And I would tell them, oh man, I was a great power singer. I would scream out there, and I'd hold these notes out forever, and I'd just go and I'd sing all night, and then I'd lose my voice the next day. And I said, but you know what? Now, knowing what I know now, what I don't understand is why I never got vocal damage. Because I have worked with people, helped them through vocal damage, people that have never gone as far over the you should not do that line as I did as a singer as much, and they had vocal damage, and I never had vocal damage. So I always ask the vocal surgeons when I have to go in and see them, I'd say, well, why do you think that is, every time I go to a new one? And they all said the same thing. They said, looking at your vocal cords are more robust, I think that means fat, than the normal vocal cord. So that means that they can be slapped around a little bit more without really kind of falling apart. It's literally the only thing that saved me from having nodes, nodules, polyps, and all these other things that happen to other singers. And that is not anything other than anatomy. So what happens when we sing incorrectly? And by incorrectly, in this case, I'm talking about the kind of incorrect singing that causes pain, strain, hoarseness, laryngitis, and vocal damage. All of those things are caused by this kind of singing incorrectly. And what happens is we have a chest voice, and some of you are familiar with these terms a little bit. We have a chest voice and a head voice. Chest voice is your I don't want to get too loud here. It's your power. It's where all your power comes from. Its home is at the bottom, and we're going to say this is a gradient. And we're going to say, let's see, I have to figure backwards. Okay, so this is the bottom of your range. This is your lowest comfortable note. Ah. It's not, oh, that's an uncomfortable note, okay? Your lowest comfortable note. So let's say, hello, this is the bottom of my range. Chest voice, okay? Let's just associate the bottom of your comfortable range with chest voice. It's where your power is. It's got guts. It's your gutsy voice, right? And at the other end of your comfortable range, wherever that nice light airy thing goes, let's try to get in screen here. Say hello to head voice. Head voice is light and lovely and soft and airy and completely gutless. Okay? These are the two things that are at play in every voice, whether you're a singer or not. You have chest voice and your head voice, and how they work together determines the quality of sound and what comes out as a speaker as well as a singer. So here's the thing. A lot of people will sing with their chest voice only. We call them at the Voice Club, we call them pullers because you're pulling chest voice. You try to drive all those power notes with chest. And you get to a point where you're literally screaming, and sometimes you'll see the veins pop out in your neck. A lot of times you'll be able to identify pullers because their chin will go up. Now, some of you on Sunday, next time you're singing, watch your chin when you go up for that high note. How much you want to bet it's up? It's one of the indicators that you're a puller. You're pulling, yanking that chest voice because it feels it's not meant to go up as far as many notes need to go. So we feel we have to shove it up there. And what we're doing when we pull chest voice is we're taking that bottom group of muscles, that there are 5 muscles grouped into 2 parts, right, that are responsible for the of your vocal cords. Okay, so the bottom group of muscles, when we're pulling chest voice, it's like just shoving them up there, and it's gripping on. It's like a death grip, and they're like a cat on your screen door. Kind of sounds like that sometimes for some singers. You might have sounded like that too. I know I have in the past, right? Okay, so when we sing with primarily chest voice, we pull chest voice out from where it belongs. I'm going to explain more about where it belongs in a bit. What happens is that those vocal cords get slammed together because those vocal cords are meant to thin and zip as they go up, and those muscle groups are responsible for doing that. Well, what happens if we don't get those muscle groups to hand off where they're supposed to? What happens is those muscles that are outside of the bottom of the vocal cords are just too manly, and they're just shoving these vocal cords together, and they're shoving them and they're shoving them, and they can't zip up and they can't go as high as your notes should. They can, and it gets really strained because the squeeze on those vocal cords is so hard, and it literally slams those poor little tissue paper thin vocal cords together over and over and over and over and over. Do that for 6 services, 7 weeks in a row, and you should feel pain or strain or something else. What happens after a long time of pulling chest is those vocal cords say, come on, you gotta be kidding me. And what happens is something will generally, not always, as in my case, didn't happen at all, although I totally was doing this. What happens is usually because of the slamming together of the vocal cords at a place where they're supposed to thin and the muscle's not supposed to be so grippy, is that little bumps will form on the vocal cords, sometimes on one side, sometimes on both sides. And basically the only difference that really matters between, really, it doesn't even matter, it's all bad, between vocal nodes, nodules, and polyps, the only difference is if they're hard or soft. And nodes in particular tend to form on both sides because they're being slammed together at a place, and the tissues get really irritated and they start swelling, and that's usually when you'll feel sore throat, you'll feel strain, pain, because those tissues have been just slapped around and they're just not feeling too good. And you keep doing that long enough and little blisters start to form on one or both sides of the vocal cords. That's when you get your polyps generally in one side, just depends how you're slamming them together. And then if you keep doing it long enough, and in the case of Phil Wickham, as in the case of many worship singers who are doing 6, 7 services a week, once you count all the special things going on through the week, sometimes they're singing just as much as a professional touring musician is. But in the case of Phil Wickham, you're out there doing concerts that are all these concerts, you have all these shows to do. So if that force is slamming those vocal cords together so much, so often, for so long, then what happens is nodes or nodules tend to form. And when that happens, guess what happens? So those cords are supposed to thin and zip up really nicely and come back down. They can't because, again, they're tissue paper-like. And a bump, even a teeny tiny little bump, a little granule, which is inside of some of different kinds of things that happen in your granulomas, happen in your vocal cords, it can't zip and thin and come together. And then when you find that you can only go up to a certain note, some notes are completely missing altogether. And that's usually the point when you can't sing certain notes or you completely lose your voice a lot. That's when you head to your ENT, your local otolaryngologist, and you tell them to take a look at your cords, and then they say, oh yeah, there's a problem there. Now I will tell you, so that is what happened in the case of Phil Wickham. I know because I've worked with damaged voices a lot. I know what caused what he does. And then I went back and when the story broke and everything, I went back and listened to a bunch of his stuff and said, yep, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. The reason it's important to identify that and have someone that can identify that is because that can be, obviously, it can be prevented. Vocal damage can be prevented in every single singer. It doesn't matter how you sing. The other thing most people don't know, because it's very rare to find people who actually are vocal repair clinicians, is that you can prevent, and not only prevent but repair vocal damage. I've worked with people, we've repaired polyps and nodes to the point where it's healed and you don't need surgery. So surgery is not always the answer. Honestly, I've had, I think I'm at 10, 12 surgeries in my life so far, and I can tell you that surgeons love to operate, and I think that their answer tends to be surgery. I worked in our vocal repair clinic. I was just working with a worship leader not too long ago that came to me convinced that she had nodes or polyps or nodules. And so we were doing an assessment to see if she had vocal damage. And I am not a medical doctor. I'm a vocal repair clinician. It's a different thing. So I do an assessment, and I can tell by how the vocal cords act if they are damaged or not. And obviously you have to go to the doctor to find that out. She hadn't gone to the doctor. And I said, well, why do you think you have vocal damage? And she said, I can't. I got these notes missing. I just can't do it. Okay, and peter out. Just can't do it. So I ran her through a bunch of things, and we got the cords to do exactly what they needed to do. It was the approach. The muscles were not approaching things correctly, so therefore it was stopped up. It just stopped up there. So we fixed that. I just fixed that. And she was so thrilled. I said, I can tell you definitively you don't have vocal damage, because if you did, these things would exist, and I would hear them. But many times people will have strain and pain, and they'll go to the ENT and they'll have their vocal cords scoped, and they're all freaked out that, oh no, I'm going to lose my voice, I'm going to have damage. And then they say your cords look fine. And then what do? Because you go back and sing and you still have pain and you still have strain. And if you have pain and strain, let me just tell you, it's a red flag. It's a big honking red flag. It means that the muscles are not approaching the notes right. They're not working, those two groups of muscles are not working together well, and that will cause a diminished voice, a diminished range, all the way to the bad stuff we talked about. So can be prevented? Absolutely. And can be repaired? Absolutely. So that's what happened in the case of Phil Wickham. Thank you very much for asking that question. Oh, yes, another very, very great point. So I'm loving these questions that are coming in. I'm going to have to keep scrolling down. By the way, if you're just joining us, I know some more people have popped on. I'm not seeing anyone in the group chat. This is my first Google Hangout. I'm trying to figure it out, but I am seeing the questions. So if you see a Q&A button, if you want to click the Q&A button and ask your question there, I will make sure that they all get answered. And in between answering these questions, oh yes, oh, next. Oh, look, I answered that. New question. Okay. Some singers seem like everything is so effortless but beautiful. Alison Krauss, very, very good example. Can that be found, accomplished, and acted by us worship leaders? Absolutely. Thanks for asking. Okay. So I already talked to you about pullers. Pullers are people that pull chest. And remember, bottom of your voice, top of your voice. We're going to call the bottom voice chest, the top voice head voice. And we're going to assign a color. This is going to come into play. You have to use your imagination. See, I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual teacher. So we're going to call chest voice blue. Okay, remember, chest voice is big and powerful, and it's blue. Head voice is light and lovely and airy and very worship-esque, isn't it? And it's yellow. Okay, head voice is yellow. When we tend to approach notes driving head voice, what happens is we get what head voice gives us, which is very little power. Low notes are not there, if at all, and it's more like, it's very airy. And the reason is because head voice happens when the cords zip up and thin at the top. And in head voice, we have a little opening at the top of the vocal cords where air comes out through our windpipe, right? So we are literally driving air. That's why it sounds nice and light and lovely and everything. So people that tend to approach notes like that tend to be the girls on the team that you have sing the nice, light, lovely stuff, but that's as heavy as they ever sing. Is that, or else it just does that. Okay, so we have yellow. If you drive yellow, blue, bottom. I think I just messed up. Okay, blue bottom chest, yellow top head voice, right? So that's it. Pullers, pull blue. Floaters, float around here, up here with yellow head voice. Then you have flippers. Now flippers, a lot of us are flippers. Flippers means, yeah, I could totally shoot out those power notes, but then when I do, to some extent, even though sometimes it may not be audible to others, you feel it in your voice. Here's what happens. So you transition from blue, you yank blue up, blue disappears, yellow appears, and it goes off on its merry way and comes back down. Now, sometimes you can get the blue to meet close to the yellow, right? And then it's a successful day, right? Okay, well, the problem with flippers is that still you'll get more notes because you can get your high notes, but you don't have any power. You can't sing the high notes in the power song because head voice has no guts, just doesn't. Yellow's wimpy, right? But blue chest voice has all the power. That means you can sing power up to a certain point and then it disappears. And the same thing, if you try to sing nice and airy and do that whole worshipy, breathy thing on songs where the notes go low, they will probably disappear or else they'll get too strong and it's hard to keep that balance in there. Now I'm getting to the point about Alison Krauss in particular in her voice because I'm familiar with what's going on in her technique too. So then we have pullers, drive blue, chest voice. Floaters tend to drive head voice, light and lovely yellow. And then we have flippers. Flippers, chest voice to head voice, right? Okay, thank you if you're old enough to get that reference. Thanks. Okay, so then we have mixers. Now, some of you may have heard of the term middle voice or mixed voice before. I'm going to explain it because when you hear the term, people do not use it the same way all the time. They could mean something completely different than I'm using it to mean, so I'm going to explain. Okay? Some people, there's a school of thought that says middle voice. I'll explain middle voice first. That say, oh, we know we pulled blue up to here and then it flips over and it goes to yellow. Well, what we need to fix is this middle. If we could just fix this middle. If we could flip from blue and have a little tiny little section of green and then flip over to yellow, we'd be able to sing all these notes seamlessly. It seems to make sense, except that that is not how the anatomy is meant to work. It's not the way the anatomy works in Alison Krauss's voice, Josh Groban's voice, Celine Dion's voice. I can go on and name them forever and ever and ever. It's not the way it works. I'll explain the way it works when I explain my definition of mix. So mixed voice, a true mixed voice, in the way that a surgeon can go in there and look and see what is happening in the anatomy of somebody who has no vocal pain, no vocal strain, no vocal damage, but yet has an incredibly large range, is able to sing with power throughout the entire range and get soft at the bottom as well as get strong at the top. What happens is not that blue comes up, meets green and changes to yellow, but that it is a gradient. Blue, your chest voice, pure chest voice belongs in just about the last 3 notes of your bottom of your comfortable range. That is the only thing that should be truly blue, truly chest voice. Same respect on the opposite side, let me get my hand in the frame here, head voice belongs in the few top notes at the very top of your range. That is the only thing that should be driven with pure chest voice. What do we do with everything in between? It is a slow gradient, and that means those muscles, muscle group on the top, muscle group on the bottom. I don't have enough hands to explain this, but the muscle groups are always engaged, always somebody's doing something, and they're trading off seamlessly while those notes are going up. So instead of blue, green, or nothing, and yellow, you get blue, 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 green, green, yellow, green, yellow, yellow, green, yellow, 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 green, yellow. So it's a gradient, and that happens in the voice. When you hear a singing voice like Alison Krauss, and she's going up and down and all over the place, and it just really seems to be really easy, it's because those muscles, those 2 muscle groups that work together, everybody knows whose job is what, and they trade off seamlessly like batons between really great Olympic level athletes. So the chords are able to thicken at the bottom, thin, seamlessly transition through those notes all the way to the top and come all the way back down. The way the voice is really supposed to work. And believe it or not, for those of you who have problems in their singing voice, I want you to think about, especially as you go through your life this week and you're talking to friends, you're at the water cooler, whatever you do, I want you to think about if you ever have pain or strain or any of the symptoms that you have in your singing voice, if they're ever there in your speaking voice. Generally, they're not. So listen to, I mean, you can be like excited, no, you're loud, but you don't have pain or strain. Now, if you have pain or strain when you sing loud on Sunday, but it's not there when you speak, there's a really good example of the fact that your cords know what to do. The muscles function the way they should, but you have, congratulations, you have learned how to sing in an imbalanced way that is robbing you of probably half your range and definitely the ease that you would have were you singing in a really mixed, balanced voice. Balance, remember we talked about the illustration of the guy balancing on the thing? Yeah, when muscles really flexible and coordinated and strong, yeah. Vocal balance. That's what we refer to it as the voice at the voice club. So when we say mixed voice, we say mixed balanced voice. So we understand we're not just mixing something together, making a teeny little green, we're balancing the whole voice. So absolutely, can that be had by every single voice? Okay, I'm wrong. I admitted it there. It's on video, okay? 98% of every voice in the world can learn with the right training to sing that way that I just explained in a healthy, balanced, mixed voice. With the right training, every single voice except for 2% of the population. And guess what? I bet it's not you, because that 2%, and this is a medical study they've done, all the otolaryngologists for years and years and years. Stanford did a big study, and everybody's been studying this, forever. What happens is 2% of people have been deemed medically tone deaf. Now, you might call yourself tone deaf at times, but to be medically tone deaf means that there is a medical issue in your inner ear. You literally cannot perceive tones. It's not like you can't find the tone, you're going sharp, you're going flat. Yeah, you're just cheating, you're just using that excuse. Chances are very great that you are not medically tone deaf. If you are not medically tone deaf, then that voice that you have right now can absolutely be trained with the right training to do that. We see it every single day at the Voice Club. It's amazing. Matter of fact, when going back to my medical story, when I went to see Dr. Sean Nassari, Surgeon to the Stars. He had all these Grammy Gold albums all over his exam rooms. I thought that was pretty funny. He not the vocal surgeon who killed Michael Jackson, but he was his good vocal surgeon who works with all the American Idol guys, and he works with everybody. He's a great guy. And so I went to him when I had 3 other specialists tell me I wasn't going to talk again, wasn't going to speak again. A little bit of a problem because I'm a voice talent and a singer and a vocal coach. So that was going to be a bit of an issue for me. But really, I was at the point where I thought, if I have to give it all up, I want to be able to speak to my family. I have 4 kids and now 2 grandkids. Yes, I started at 12. Yep. So I thought there's got to be a way, even if they say it's not going to happen, there's got to be a way to make it happen. And so I went to see Dr. Nassari down in Beverly Hills, and he knows about what I teach and everything. And he said, well, you've worked with people and done vocal repair, and I'm like, yes. And I literally was writing on a dry erase board. Now, can you imagine if I had how fast I must write? I write pretty fast. I got really good at it. So we're having this conversation. I'm writing all this out, and he took a look at everything, and he says, here's the thing. I don't think you're going to speak professionally again. I don't think you're going to repair it to the point where you're going to sing professionally again. He said, I'm not sure that you can repair it to the point where you'll be able to speak well, and by well, he was talking about like speak to your family like they would recognize your voice as being the same voice, that it would be crackly and gravelly and all of those things. But he said, and then I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm at the end of my trail. I'm going to have to accept this. But he said, but if anyone can repair your voice, it's you. I should have been happy, but I was like so mad at him because I was like, I'm the patient. I don't want to be the teacher and the patient and the student all at the same time. That's just a bit much, don't you think? I'm a little emotionally unstable. I don't think I should do that right now. But he said, he walked me through it, and he said, you know the things that you do, you take it, you reverse engineer it, and we talked through a lot of stuff. And he said, if you have any chance of repairing it to a point where you have a somewhat normal speaking voice, I don't think you're going to get beyond that, but I think you can do it. So I spent 6 months trying to repair my own voice. It was really, really frustrating. I gave up on me all the time. I was a horrible, horrible patient, a horrible student, and probably not a great teacher, really, because I was on a lot of pain pills at the time. But I am now speaking professionally again. I still work as a voice talent. I still work as a singer. I'm singing professionally. I'm still doing all the things I used to do, and I gained another half octave. So all those doctors who said it couldn't be done. Right training makes all the difference in the world. In the case of Phil Wickham, just to go back to that, Phil Wickham, if he had, let me put it this way, if he were allowed by management, and I don't know that he's not, but I've just seen this happen a lot with singers I've worked with, if he were allowed the time from management to go through the right kind of vocal therapy, he could avoid vocal surgery. I think that surgeons tend to want to do surgery because it's their job, and not faulting them. I like to repair voices. It's my job, right? We all want to do what we're good at, but it's it's an it's a faster answer to go in and scrape those polyps off. But when you scrape them off, think of Julie Andrews, who had a botched vocal surgery. She had a nodule removed, and they always take that's paper thin, tissue paper thin, your vocal cords. And even though it's a tiny little laser they go in with, they always take some of the surface material. I've had this conversation with tons and tons of vocal surgeons. They always do. So your vocal cords are never exactly the same after surgery, and they can have problems. And you could end up like Julie Williams, who cannot, she's medically cannot regain full use of her vocal cords again now because of the medical damage that was done during the surgery. So whenever possible, you really, I could care less if you come work with me, or I will refer you to other people if you don't want to work with me. There are less than 5% of the vocal training out there approaches the voice anatomically, which is the way that I teach. And even fewer of those successfully repair vocal damage, which is why most people just go get surgery because they don't know that there's another option. But I will tell you, as worship leaders, team singers, if let's say you do presentations at work and you're singing in the choir on the weekends, whatever it is, you are the only one who cares as much as you do about your voice. When those little red flags pop up, that doesn't feel right, that didn't sound right, I did good, but then that, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's just me, I'm not talented enough. No, you listen to that. There's something going on there, and it can be fixed. You owe it to yourself to do what you need to do to correct bad habits so that it doesn't go to vocal damage. Like in my case, turns out I abused my voice to death. I should have had vocal damage and I didn't, right? But it's still a good thing I turned around when I did, or else I would have been, by the time I ended up with that medical freakish situation of mine, I never would have been able to repair my voice, and I wouldn't have a voice today. So start early, start often, get the right training. There's my lecture. Okay, so yes, you can all sing like Alison Krauss. If you're a guy, you might want to not, maybe Josh Groban. I don't know. Anyway. So, okay, next question. Okay, somebody's asked a question button. So let me go on to the next one. Okay, good. And if you haven't, oh, what's that? Deb, you asked the perfect question. What's the perfect key? Before I get there, because I told you I was going to hold out, right? And oh gosh, we're not very far into this. If you've just joined us since, I'm answering all your vocal questions. Put them in the Q&A. Click the Q&A and enter a question, because I'm not seeing the group chat. I'm new at the Google Hangout thing, but I just love worshipers and singers, and I thought we should just do this. We should just answer these questions, right? So make sure you get yours in. I'll stay until they're all answered. If we wrap it up, I talk pretty fast. I could wrap it up in 20 minutes. I don't know, maybe I could. If not, I'll stay as long as it takes, and you can bow out whenever you need to. But we'll have a recording of this later on YouTube, so you can go back and listen later. Don't bow out now. I'm not going to answer your question. I see you disappear. Trisha. Hey, Trisha. Okay, so let me see if I can get Trisha added to our call. I'm not sure how to do this. Hey, Trisha.
Hey, Kim.
All right, now somebody tell me if you can see Trisha in the bar on the bottom. I don't think you can. Let's see. Trisha is a student of mine and a worship leader, and the only brave one here, evidently.
What? Nobody else is on video?
No, nobody. You're the first. So I'm trying to see how I can add you to this, and if anyone out there that's listening. Oh, okay. I clicked on you. So, okay, I see. I blue boxed you. Okay. Let me see if I can do this. All right. Now you should show up pretty soon at the bottom of the bar. Let's see. I'm checking my other computer to see if I'm onto this. So, because I could use Trisha as an example for something.
Great. Well, my internet has been out because of all the rain. We had torrential rains, so tornadoes coming through and all that fun stuff. So we have not had internet, and here I am, so at the very last minute, and finally our internet came on.
Oh, you're not in the last minute. You're just in the first half. Okay, so what'll happen, and it is working, when Trisha talks, she'll pop up, and when I talk, when I interrupt her, it'll go back to me. So let me give everybody a little bit of background about Trisha, because I haven't known Trisha that long, but she and I have bonded like girl worship singers do.
That's right.
Trisha is in Texas. Oh, Trisha, by the way, I just have to side note here. You held out on me. I totally didn't know you had that music video out there. I can't remember what song it was. I stumbled upon it the other day, and I posted it on our Facebook page, the Voice Club Facebook page. It was flipping great.
Good. Well, good lighting and a great producer, great editor.
And humble singer.
Oh, right.
That's how that is. Okay. So let me tell you, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Trisha, because I'm a storyteller. I could embellish. Who would know if you don't interrupt me, right? So Trisha, I think you saw an article I wrote for Christian Worship Leader magazine, right?
Right.
Okay, so you read the article. Why don't you tell them how you found me and why you came to me? That'd probably be better.
Well, of course, I'm a huge worship leader fan, always have been for many, many years, been to a lot of their conferences. So I know the ins and outs of worship leader. I also know who they tout, who they support. And when Kim had her blog on there, I knew that she was going to be somebody to be trusted, because worship leader only puts people out there that they trust. So I listened to her or watched her, read her blog, and everything that she was talking about was my deal, my issues. So I went to go look her up, of course, and anyway, I was sold just based on the fact that she kind of lives in my genre. She also talked about having issues, her own issues, but also medical issues that she fixed herself. And I think what really sold me on you, Kim, was that initially, I didn't tell you all of my stuff. I told you some of it, but not all of it. But you identified right away what my issues were. Now, that's not a big deal, because at this point, most people can identify what somebody else's issues were. The biggest deal for me was that you told me immediate fixes. You gave me tools to fix them immediately. And we weren't even Skyping or having lessons at that point. It was all via email.
It's so funny. This is why I think this is an interesting story. So Trisha, this happens sometimes. I rarely take vacation. As a matter of fact, this is the first time that I took a week off for the birth of my grandson and actually did not teach. I have my laptop. If I go on the road someplace, I'm teaching all the time. But that was the week I took off. And Trisha said, okay, I want to start up. And she signed up, and she was going to start weekly training. And she said, oh, by the way, I've got a recording coming up in, what was it, like 4 days?
Right.
Thanks for that. And so I know we won't be able to get together to, like have a vocal training session, and you really haven't talked to me outside of this is email, right?
Right.
But could you help me fix these songs in 4 days without
No pressure.
Yeah. So we did.
So you did. And that was the greatest thing, was it was immediate changes, immediate results. And so I knew then that if you could just guide me in those small ways in a matter of days, in a matter of sentences on an email, that there was so much more that you could help me with. And you proved to do that every single time. Every single time.
No, and you just have to know she's still in the beginning phase where it's like, oh, it's so great. Yeah, I know. When you hear my voice after a while, it just
Yeah.
Not too much. But you had that recording project. Oh, I would love for you to share, because I know you and I both know you're not the only one this has happened to. I want you to share with those watching what the producers said to you, some of the comments that the producers made to you when you went in to do that recording about some of the songs.
Yeah, really, that's not very fun to hear, but when as a worship leader, you're doing obviously everything live. So there is such a difference when you go into the studio and everything is so raw, and every nuance, good and bad, about your voice is heard. It's so raw. And the technique is completely different. And it's been probably, I did my last project in 2009, so it's really been 4 or 5 years since I've been in the studio. And so, it's just the technique is completely different. So I go in thinking, all right, I got this. And And he's saying, there are some areas in your voice that just feel like you're straining. And of course, he can't see me, fortunately, in that booth while I'm doing that. But it's like it just feels kind of constricted, kind of closed off. And we also talked about, and I've heard other people say this to me before, oh, here we are, we're at a high C, and that's the top of your range. Well, I knew that was bunk. That was just not, that's not true. But there was something about them listening to me made them think that was the top of my range. When I knew I could vocalize way above a high C, but just in the singing of it, it sounded strained.
And let me point out too, because I just went into the big discussion about pullers and flippers and floaters and mixers and what it is. And I know some of you have had this happen too. She's saying I vocalize all the way. So you didn't vocal exercise, whatever you do, or you sang another song and you're getting all the way through there and you're like, oh, my range is like 16 octaves. I don't know what they're talking about. And then you go to sing one song and it's like you can't even get up to that high note. What the heck, right?
Right.
It's because when you put yourself in, sometimes a vocal exercise will put yourself in a place where it's easier for those muscles to do their job, and they do it pretty easily. But it's not, I always say, it's not the note, it's the approach to the note. That's where it all goes wrong. It's before you get anywhere near that treble note. It has to do with what your muscles are doing way before there. If they're not handing off, if they're not working together, if your biceps and triceps aren't both involved in that weightlifting thing, same thing. If those two groups of muscles aren't already engaged in knowing what the next step is, that note is not going to happen. And wasn't there something else, not meaning to be unkind, but was unkind that he said? What was it? I know he said that you top out there, and then wasn't there another song you were going to sing, and he said, I think that one's out of your range.
No, it was actually our fun song, the one that you love so much as well. But it was those notes sit right in that break, and either you're belting them out and you're good, you're golden, but you got to pull them back and you've got to be soft, and you don't have the control stability through that, and your vocal cords don't know what to do if you're not blowing it out. Then it's wobbly and it's unstable, and it sounds like two different voices. You got a chest voice and you got a head voice, and that's completely different. And so that's where we were.
You're so darn smart. See, now everybody's going like, I know that, I felt that, I know that. And the thing is, this is when I was talking at the beginning of our time together this evening. When you think these little thoughts in your head about your voice, you trust that there is something going on. There are two voices. There is chest voice and there is head voice. And if you are not seamlessly blending them together, they sound like two different people. It's like you got a multiple personality. It's two for the price of one on Sunday morning, depending on the song.
Right.
You brought up breaks, and so I want to take a minute to explain vocal bridges, because a lot of people think that, and when we talked about the middle, fixing the middle, a lot of people don't realize that there are, for guys, there are 4 vocal bridges, and for girls, there are 5 vocal bridges. And basically, I dumb everything down for the simple white girl, because I am the simple white girl. And basically what that is that there are, for girls, 5 places. As those vocal cords, those muscles are zipping those cords, there are 5 places where the muscle makes a critical decision to trade off. Who does this? Now we have to make another decision. We have to make another decision. And there's only 4 places for guys, because God likes guys better. That's why they get me so much, I think. So, vocal bridges, and we sing mostly through our second vocal bridge, which is in the middle of every song, which is why people think it's just the middle. But there are 5 for girls and 4 for guys. And this works into the next question I have to answer. Well, the question I'm going to keep to the end. What is the perfect key? But vocal bridges are the most difficult places to sing through. So if you end up with a song that sits in your vocal bridge or lives in there because some well-meaning male worship leader decided it should be done in the guy key, but puts a girl in it singing. And guess what, guys? If you do that, you pick the perfect key for you, and then you have the girl sing on one of those choruses, you've just shoved her in the middle of a horrible second vocal bridge.
Right.
Same is true for girls. If you're leading worship or you pick the key of a song and you're going through usually the tough parts in the chorus, so I'm just going to use that as an example. You're going through and it's fine for you, and then you have the guy sing through a chorus, you've just put him in his vocal bridge because guess what? Guys and girls are different, and your vocal bridges are in opposite places. So that is another teaser, Deb, for how we're going to find the perfect key when we have guys and girls singing along and all sorts of different voices, because within those few notes, even so, like the female vocal bridge, for an example, it's a rough category. Yeah, right about there. So like G sharp to C is where the typical vocal bridge lies for women. But it depends. Here's where it gets more complex. This is why people don't talk about this stuff, because it's like, I don't understand. Let's just call it the middle. No, so if G sharp all the way up to C in every octave, and you obviously aren't going to sing every octave on the keyboard, but pretty much, 2, 3, 4 octaves, right? So every time you go through that group of note, those muscles are shifting. But at what note they actually start making that critical decision, and how they decide it and what point that goes wrong, is determined not only by where the typical break is, but your own voice, your own particular anatomy. And on top of that, when you can sing in a really nice mixed balanced voice, you can actually shift how you bridge through those places for styling purposes, and that goes way too in depth for tonight. So I am going to go back to Trisha, my only wonderful volunteer / guinea pig tonight.
Okay.
I don't even know how you joined the call. I'm still trying to figure this out. But I'm really, really glad you did, because I know my students are so brave, because I am all up in their face about stuff. So we get all the ugly out. So
yeah, right.
I attract brave people. I think people that aren't instantly brave are probably scared of me. I think that's probably what it is. But we have to talk about the song. The song that we both hate to sing.
Hate to love to hate.
The song we love. Yes. We love the song, but hate to sing it. Mm-hmm. What is it, Trisha? What is it, and why is it hard to sing?
Victor's Crown. And it's hard to sing because in the original key, C, it is the chorus is sitting smack dab in the bridge. It's just in that precarious place.
Yes, and
notes to push out, but not great notes to control and keep soft with.
Yes, and so I'll quiz you, because I love quizzing people, Trisha. Trisha's not been with me that long either, so I'm really this is just so you know, I do tend to abuse people and put them on the spot. Full disclosure. Tell me, Trisha, why then does Darling Shucks seem to just sail through this with no problem? She's a girl.
Because she bridges differently. She bridges in a different place, and so that's why she sails right through it. Because it's nothing for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing is, there's a video on YouTube if you're interested. We do a series called How to Sing, and we do a bunch of different songs from different genres. And in the worship genre, we picked How to Sing Victor's Crown because, and I think at least one of you on this call is from my new home church, Christ the King, Mount Vernon, Washington, and first time on team, first Sunday, new team ever. They gave me Victor's Crown to sing. So I was pretty sure it was like hazing, the Christian version of hazing. I know it is. It's just that no one will say it in the Lord. Right. It is. It totally is. I'm just calling it, Elijah.
Right.
You are. Okay. So I had to do this song, and it's the first time I've ever sung a team at the church, and I'm going to lead this really, really difficult song. And so I did, and this is about the time that Tricia started working with me, and so we were commiserating about this song before we actually even met. It was one of those email conversations, wasn't it? Right. Because you were thinking about doing it on the recording, and so I did the How to Sing video, but I didn't put it out till after Easter because I kind of made fun of Elijah. You are. So I thought I ought to wait till I sing the first Sunday on the first team at the new church before I diss them on like all of Googledom. It's just a choice. Just a private choice that I made. So, but then I did put the video on how to sing it because I started asking around I work with a lot of worship leaders and worship singers, and as well as singers in other genres, and everyone who sings worship said, "Oh my gosh, that song's so hard." so that we have to do a video on this. So Darlene Scheck, the reason it's easy for her is that she's a jingle singer. She also has an incredibly well-balanced mixed voice, and referred to, if you joining us late, I explained all that a little bit earlier in the call. So that enables her not only, first of all, her voice naturally, if this is the female vocal bridge, she tends to bridge a little on the high side of that, and because she has a well-trained balanced mixed voice, she can choose even within that where she would like that bridge to be depending on what styling she's using, which again goes into in depth for this call. So so when she writes these songs, she is literally putting them in the key that's easiest for her to sing. She is avoiding sitting in the middle of that bridge for her. The problem is she tends to bridge on the high end of that area, and most women singing power songs in churches tend to bridge on the low end of that area. So when she sails up to that high note, Trish, I totally should make you sing this. This would be so much funnier than so much better than making me sing it.
It'd be so much more fun if you sang it, and funnier too. So yeah.
No, okay, let's do something fun. I like fun. Because I am gonna, Deb, I'm leading up. This is the longest lead up to the answer of what is the perfect key. I'm gonna totally use this song. Trisha, I'm totally gonna take advantage of this. Okay, Trisha. Now, keep in mind, this is, by the way, singers make excuses all the time, and I'm always on my singers. Stop making excuses. It is what it is. You're tired, we know. You've been singing all day, we know. You didn't practice, we know. You're not to hide, you're to hide, whatever. So that said, that I give that speech all the time, I'm extremely dehydrated from medication and teaching all day. So there's my excuse.
We got it.
Teachers have excuses too. Okay, but okay. So you and I, we're going to go down into these muddy waters together. There is the key of C. You'll have to. So you can choose to sing it purposefully horrible, or you can choose to sing it purposefully as good as you are, which is fabulous, and I will do the same or something else. But I'm giving you the choice because that's the humane thing to do.
You're going to make me sing. All right, my excuse is I haven't vocalized. I'm warmed up or vocalized all.
So there's your excuses. I knew you had some.
I have one.
Okay, yeah, we all have excuses. I know. I have them too. Okay, but we're going to do this. Now this is wow. This is better than live TV, right?
Why did I come on today? No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? Aren't you glad you joined the call? And everybody else is like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't push that button.
That's all right. It's all good.
Okay, so when Trisha started working with me, she was having trouble with this song. I hadn't heard of the song, and then I had to sing the song, and I was having trouble with the song, so I had to work it through too. Now, any girl that sung this song, I bet you, yeah, if you had to sing it in the key of C, you were hating somebody, hating on them in the love of the Lord. So, Trisha, do you want to sing? You want to sing it badly, or you want to sing it goodly?
I'm gonna sing it. I tell you what, I'm gonna sing it, and you can decide if it's bad or good.
I get an idea. Why don't you sing it the way you used to sing it?
Oh no, I can't do that.
There's no turning back for you.
Like
I can still sing bad.
You can. I can't. I've been trained well. I can't sing it bad anymore.
It's hard to sing bad when you've been trained well, but I've worked hard at being able to sing bad because I had to be able to give bad examples.
Bad is relative anyway. Okay, so.
So, perhaps I should give a bad example first.
All right.
And then you can sing it the lovely way.
Okay.
And then we'll quiz you on what you know. I will let you tell our viewers what you changed that made it easier. Of course, they'll be like, you can sing better than her. It's true. I only work with people who can sing better than me.
Oh, that's not true. Okay.
I mean, seriously, we train out all the kinks and stuff, but my singers sing fabulous, incredible singers. Right. I mean, just the quality and the texture, like, I want to have their voice, kind of stuff. Okay. So I'm going to back up from the microphone because I'm a loud girl. Okay, so we got hallelujah. We're toast by the way, guys. Hallelujah, you have overcome. You have overcome. Hallelujah. We're toast, burnt at that point. Jesus, you have overcome. You want us out of there at that point. The world. And then there's the flippin' bridge.
Yeah.
Every mountain must come down. You are the victor's crown. You overcome. You overcome. and then we're a cat on a hot tin roof.
That
Thank
was
you.
good.
I'll be here all hour.
All night.
Hmm. Okay, so Trisha, sing it lovely for us, and then tell us how you made it so nice.
Okay, first, with my voice in particular, I have a lot of chest voice in my head voice. I have too much chest voice in my head voice. So
Yeah. So
where,
let me explain that a little
okay,
bit more clearly. So when we mix chest voice and head together, she tends to, even when she does mix her chest voice and head together, as it should be, she tends to go with a heavy mix. So that means that it's too blue-green where it should be green-green.
right.
And if you don't know
And
what I'm talking about, I explained that all at the beginning too.
right. And so where normally somebody would need to put that vocal fry, which I'm sure you have explained, that vocal
Nope,
fry on the hale,
I'm not even going to explain
I
that one
actually,
tonight. That's a bonus.
yeah, I actually have to bring more of the headiness, the airiness into it. So instead of somebody doing the alleluia, I actually have to bring in the heady voice of it and go ha and let the H go so that it does work. So anyway,
I'm going to have to explain that. Thanks for opening that gate.
okay, sorry. All right, so give me that C.
Oh, you mean me?
Hallelujah. You have overcome. You have overcome. Hallelujah. Jesus, you have overcome the world.
Oh, you should be applauding her and just
So,
think about how brave you are not right now because you did not do that, people.
well, and yeah, that was so cold and awful.
I
Sorry.
know, right? And see, this is why I do what I do, and this is why I'm doing this free masterclass for singers in the church because we are so self-depreciating.
Yeah,
Word.
right.
I mean, we're so humble. We're so humble. Oh no, it wasn't really that good. Oh no, I could have done better. Oh, it was better before. Right? We do this to ourselves. It's even worse than other singers. All performers have that in them because we put everything out there. But we're
Yeah.
so mean to ourselves. We're just so
Well,
awful.
I
Yeah,
know.
and when you sing live, by the way, very rarely. When I train our singers that aren't performing, I get them to get out and start finding an avenue that's good for them to get out and sing live. Because here is the thing: if you get picked up as a starlet and some label signs you, you will never sing live. You could sing really, really bad. They'll fix it in the mix, and then they'll have you lip sync along to whatever they mechanically produced in the studio. It just is the way music is done, unfortunately, right now. So that's how I know that my students that get out there and do coffee houses, I know they can sing better. Well, definitely than Britney Spears, but a lot of other ones, because they can. If you sing live, you will hear everything. The smaller room you sing in, actually the fewer people you sing for is the hardest audience you'll ever sing for. The bigger crowd, and I'm telling you this because I sang at one big Kansas City Lighting Plaza ceremony. It was nationally televised, whatever. They said there were like 500,000 people there. I think it had to have been less because I've done some festivals and it didn't seem like that much more than 40,000. I don't know. Anyway, streets were filled, blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks, and you're singing. That is easy. I'm telling you. If you think, oh, it'd be so hard to sing in front of a big group, it's not. You don't. They're little pinpoints. You don't even see their heads. You don't see their faces. You sing to one person in a room, you have guts because you can see their eyes looking at you and every little expression that they make. You're thinking, oh no, they hated that. Oh no, that was awful. Even when you thought it was okay, which is only like 2 notes out of the song anyway.
Right.
Okay, I know I totally forgot my point, Trisha.
I don't know. We were talking about, well, and I gave you the fry and the other to
Yeah. Okay,
sound on.
so my point was, yeah, she had a little break in her voice at the end, but goodness, if I did it right now, I would too. So it is hallelujah. If we don't go hallelujah. Okay, so pullers and those of you who are flipping, and if you don't know what that is, that means you joined us later. So watch this back later because I went through all that. So if your chin is going up, you're toast. Remember when I gave you the example, if you go back and watch a video, I did hallelujah. I did lips wide. These are called splatters. Splat, like bugs on your windshield, splatters when we take a vowel and we shove it wide. What it does, and I don't have time to get into the anatomy of the voice. I don't think we're going to get into that this session. But it basically creates a big problem in your voice. That's as far as I can go without going really, really in depth. So chin lifting, let's go on this slide. So by keeping the chin just neutral, and if you ever notice that you lift your chin, all you have to do is sing and put your finger, rest your arm on your chest and put your finger on your chin while you're rehearsing your songs. Make sure your arm doesn't move when your chin does, and you will feel that sucker going all the time. When you go up for notes, just stop it. All you have to do is hold your finger here. You'll become aware of it all the time, and then when you're singing Sunday, you'll stop doing it as much. And I've got another tip actually that goes with the next question. But we're narrowing to make sure we don't splat the vowels, and we're keeping our chin from going up, and that reduces a lot of the tension on the larynx, which is the house the vocal cords live in. So hallelujah. So it's not hallelujah. You have overcome, hallelujah. Not yeah. And then, though I think that for me, the worst part of this whole song is Jesus, because that's what I want to do, but I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to go Jesus, Jesus. This is why black gospel singers sing better. They just do. They have more balanced voices because their vowels appear. It's just true. It's anatomy. So Jesus, you have overcome the world. So that's the basis of some of the changes we made. And Tricia, since you're my only brave one that videoed in, you can chime in anytime. People are probably sick of seeing my hands move this fast at this point. But I'm going to go on and answer this next question because it has something to do with we're talking about pain and strain and lifting the chin and flattening the vowels and all these things we do as worship leaders and singers, teams, choirs, all of this. A lot of times, you're praising God, you put your chin up, and it's a bad thing to do. So the next question I'm going to answer is, how can you explain the best proximity to a microphone when singing? I think that is an extremely great question. And I've honestly never, even at worship conferences I've done, I went tons and tons of questions. I've never been asked this question, although I answer this question all the time. So Eric, you get 5 gold stars. It means nothing, but I just want you to feel good about it because you asked the question no one asks, which is extremely important. What is the perfect proximity to the microphone? Okay, here's the thing. Power singers, all of you wanting to praise and getting into that, just getting into that beat, and the guitarist is going, and they're really loud, and their amps are really loud behind your head, even if you got your in-ear hanging out one side and in the other, right? And then you're trying to hear yourself, and then you're praising God, so your chin's up, you're doing all these things wrong, and then you're afraid you're going to overpower the mic, right? So what do? Like, I gotta grab my, I got an extra vocal mic around here someplace. I don't know where I put it. I'm moving things. I'll use the old Rode. I'll use the old condenser. Not a live mic. This is not a live mic. Okay, so this is the studio mic. Okay, so here's what we do. Let's pretend I'm trying to keep this thing from falling off. So let's pretend that we're singing this song and we're a chin lifter, and then we're singing powerfully, and then we're going up for a note. So I'm going to give you my horrible example of Victor's Crown. Hallelujah, Jesus, you have. Our mic keeps going up and up and up, and because we're going for a power note, right? No, I'm going to pretend this is a dynamic microphone. That'd be the lollipop microphone, because I guess mine is in the recording booth right now. So let's pretend the ball's on the end of this. We just keep going up and up and up and up, and then we go further away, right? Rock star move, right? Looks really cool from the seats, but we do that because we don't want to overpower the mic. Here's the thing, people. We live in the 21st century. This is a technological wonder. It picks up sound. So if you decide to back off, by the way, the fuel for the fire of chest voice, so if chest voice gets out of control, think of it as a forest fire that just goes crazy, because it will, and it causes a lot of damage when chest voice gets out of balance. It just does. So it's a forest fire, and the fuel for that fire is volume. So if you were to do nothing else, actually 2 things. If you were to do nothing else but back off of the volume in the most powerful parts and keep your chin from going up and use your microphone. So instead of hallelujah, Jesus, you have hallelujah, Jesus, lean into the microphone. Here's a couple things that happen. Your chin goes down and you lean into the mic. Oh, I'm going to give you another great mic tip. Your chin goes down instead of up. That I can't go into the anatomy anymore today. I just won't have time. But it does good things for your voice. Chin down, not up. Just remember that. And if you lower your volume, you have reduced your forest fire. It's not going to get as out of control. And it's not going to cause as much strain, pain, or potentially damage to your voice. The other thing we do is we keep the sound guy happy, right? Because he's like turning levels all over the place. Here's you all over the place. Don't do that. Use your microphone. So what is the best proximity to the microphone? Okay, if it weren't for that, I got a little freaked out about germs through my illness. What I used to do is always bottom lip on the microphone. Now, that's unsanitary. Now that I've had time to think about that, many months in bed thinking about illnesses and people using germaphobe stuff. So, but really, there is no too close to your microphone unless you bump your teeth on it. And I have done it. Yes, because I'm worshiping. And then I'm oh, no, bump. I literally have a chip in my tooth from a microphone. War stories. Worship war stories. We should have a whole episode on that. Okay, so there is no too close for your mic. There is too far, because what happens when the mic is too far is you oversing. If you oversing, and if you have any imbalance in the way that you're approaching the notes, and most of us do most or all of the time, then you're making that problem worse for yourself. Use the technology. It should be right up here. And the other extra mic tip I'm going to give you, and I'm actually, this one's on a stand, so I'm going to use this one. Okay, so here's what we do. So we set, let me get this over here. We set our mic and we go check, testing. We do all these annoying things, right? Check. And I'm going to sing it like this, and then we sing back here. Ah! We do all this, okay? And usually, if you notice on Sunday, you set your mic, and if you just were to walk right up to it, it's probably aiming at your nose, okay? Well, of course your chin is going to go up. Your mouth wants to be in the microphone. So here's another really quick tip. You can correct bad vocal technique without even having a lesson. See, there's proof I'm not trying to get you to take lessons from me. All you have to do is when you go up to your mic stand, well, this one's going to fall off because this sucker's heavy. It's not really meant to be in this little holder. If you will turn your microphone, when you just walk up to the microphone and put your chin neutral, make sure my natural position is always up. Put your chin neutral, and then aim the microphone at your chin. Make sure your chin isn't slightly lifted down, and then aim it. And then that's the position of your microphone. That's the position you need to get used to. Because what's going to happen when you go for that big power note? Well, you know you're going to lean in and you're going to go down. You want to lean in because we're going to use the microphone instead of abusing our voice. And we're going to aim down because our microphone is there. If your microphone is aimed up, your voice is going to go up, your chin's going to go up. Basically what happens is the larynx rises. The larynx is a house of vocal cords, and it shuts the epiglottis, which is the flap that closes the windpipe, and the sound is trying to get out of the windpipe, and you're strangling yourself. Don't do it. It's not nice. Any mic stories to add, Tricia?
No, I love that. I think that the very first time I heard that you're strangling yourself, I wrote that down somewhere. It was on one of your videos, and I just got the biggest kick out of that. You're strangling yourself. Stop it.
I have to tell a story about you. Oh, and Austin, I see that you're on the call, and thank you for LOLing along with us. But I see that you are not nearly brave enough.
Come on, Austin.
Just saying, Austin. Austin
started with me. He started just after I did.
Yeah, they started the same week.
Yeah.
Clearly does not have the guts to get. I'm just saying, Austin. I mean, still time to redeem yourself if you want to try to get on. Yeah. I don't know how to tell you to do it. This is my first Google Hangout.
I mean, by accident, so I don't know. I didn't know I had a choice.
By accident. So I have to tell you a quick funny story about Tricia, because this is exactly what I was telling you before about we're so self-criticizing, and as Christians even more so, because we don't want to be prideful. I was raised in the Nazarene church, and he never took a compliment because, oh, God will get you taking a compliment. That's God's. Don't you mess with that. And hey, my mom, I love her to death. I told her, Mom, just saying, oh, no. When people say, oh, Kathy, that was a beautiful solo. Oh, it was a beautiful thing that you did. Oh, no. Oh, no. I said, don't you think that that's prideful, Mom? And she'd be like, oh, no, I'm not accepting the compliment. And I said, well, think about it, Mom. If somebody says, I was blessed by something you did, it was beautiful, and you go, oh, no, what are you saying? Oh, me, oh, no, pay attention to my humility. You're not saying, well, and I struggled with this for years in the church. I thought, what is the appropriate response to, oh, you have the most beautiful voice in the world, which is clearly not true. But, when you get up and sing in front of people, you have nice comments sometimes. You hope you do. You hope. you hear the nice ones, because there are a lot of other ones you hope you don't hear, right? But I think the appropriate response for me, at least, is to just say, thank you. I'm really glad that you were blessed by that. Because to have an opportunity to be a part of being a blessing is why we sing worship.
Right. And all you're doing is giving back the gift God gave you in the first place. So it is false humility when we sit there and go, oh, no, no, no. Yeah.
Yes. I just love calling my mom on that. She's never not accepted a compliment from me since. So I almost got distracted from the story I was going to tell about you. So I ask when I do a vocal assessment and I'm setting up training for a new student, I ask 2 questions that never get asked of singers, especially singers that sing a lot. I ask them, what do you hate about your voice? And then there's a long, long list. And I mean, this goes on for a long, 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 long time, a list. And then I'll say, what do you like about your voice? And the better a singer is, the more they've sung, the longer they've sung. And honestly, the better a singer is, the less they have an answer to the question, what do you like about your voice? Most of the time, they'll say nothing. I don't like anything about my voice. So if you're feeling insecure about your voice, just want you to know you're not alone. But in the case of Trisha, I can't remember, I think it was my admin, Naomi in London, I was telling her about you after this happened. I said, so what don't you like about your voice? And people usually have a list of things they don't like, but Trisha literally had a list. I asked the question, she's like, oh, hang on, I've got a list. And I was like, you have a literal list?
So I was prepared for the questions, yeah. And I'm a little anal that way, yes, sorry.
Well, I knew you had to be a great singer because you literally wrote down your list. just hilarious. Okay, so Austin, you have no question. Just LOL, LOL back at you, buddy. And thanks for getting on the call. Because you know I make you think something.
Oh, I'd love to hear Austin sing. Come on, Austin.
He doesn't know how. You know what? I'm going to figure it out by next time. I don't know. I've got one computer that I'm seeing what you guys see, and I got one that I'm seeing what I see. I got no clue.
I had to, it made me add a plugin. So I had to install a plugin in order to.
Are you on Google Chrome?
No, I'm on Safari.
Safari. Yeah, I'm on Firefox. Seems to be working. Yeah, weird. Okay, well, we need to start inviting people based on their Google Hangout experience so someone can figure it out. Okay, he doesn't know how. So, okay, Austin, thanks for manning up and at least letting us know you didn't know how. I don't either. That wasn't that kind of comment. I just know Austin would be singing for us right now.
Yes.
Singing some Journey.
Next time.
Journey for us right now if we could get him on video. He said he asked one. Oh, what is? Oh, I'm just getting to. Look, it just says next. I'm just going next. Okay. So Austin asked a question. Austin says, studio question. How many takes should it take a well-trained vocalist to record a full 3 to 4 minute song? Okay. The answer to how many takes should it take a well-trained, let's say well-trained balanced mixing vocalist to record a full 3 to 4 minute song is dependent on how good your engineer is. Because I'm a trained audio producer, I've been on the other side of that window. And I was going to tell you a little, take the mystery out of it. A lot of times they say, oh, that was good, let's get another one. It's because they forgot to push record. They say, we're going to punch in, and you punch in at this place, and you go for that high note, and you just like rock it out, and you're like, oh, I had no idea it was so wonderful. And then they say, yeah, no, it's good, but let's do it one more time. They forgot to push record. It happens. I've seen it happen. A lot of producer friends, it happens. So, so we have to ask the question like this: how many takes? It's like, how many licks should it take to get to the center of a lollipop? So, how many takes should it take to get a well-trained, balanced vocalist to record a full 3 to 4 minute song if they have a really competent engineer? As many as you want. Because here's what in my experience with the people I work with, and in my experience personally, like when I did my indie label album, it was pre-mixed balanced voice. And my husband asked me the other day, I was telling Austin this week, my husband, one of the songs came up for something, he said, do you think now, no, he doesn't know what to do. Do you think now, knowing, like the stuff that you do you think that you could sing that song better now? I'm like, yes. I remember being in the studio. There's one high note on one of those songs on my album. I'm not kidding you. We put pieces of 4 takes of one note together to make a long hold note.
That's good.
Because I went in, just like you, Trisha, I went in way too heavy chest voice, and then it would crackle, fall apart, or disappear, or I couldn't get the power out of it, and it would flip into head voice. I couldn't do both. We literally copied and pasted together 4 takes, little bits, and then you kind of, you squeegee them around so that the levels kind of, I can hear it in the recording. I can hear every single one of those takes. Drives me crazy. So in my experience, and I've heard is the experience of my students that I work with that are recording or have recorded, what happens is you go into the studio and let's see, what illustration can I give you? I always wanted to ride a horse. Tear. I'd love to be able to like bareback ride a horse through the countryside. It just seems like so free and so wonderful. My mom grew up around horses. That just seems so idealistic to me. But I've had 2 back surgeries. The reality is I'm getting on a horse. I've been on a horse. Barely trots around, hurts your butt, kills my back, can't do it. I've been told you shouldn't do that. You fall, you break the rest of your spine, whatever, doctors. So I can imagine that if I would get really good at riding a horse, and I had a really good horse, that when I would go out on a horse ride, it would just be fun. And I might just ride that horse a lot longer than I mean to, because I'm just having a good time. And that's the best illustration I can give you. Being in the studio, having a well-balanced trained voice versus before, for me personally, and the stories I hear from my students, that's what it is. You go in, are there always things that you don't like? Yeah, because you know when you've done it good, you know you can do better, and you want to go back and like, I can nail that note better when I go better. But you're always besting yourself, so it's so much more fun. So, I mean, there have been times, let me just put it this way, I can go in the studio, I can be done in 2 takes, but chances are I'll hang around till 5, 6, 7 because it's fun and because I want to see if I can do better than I did last take. Or I get a new idea and I want to try something different. As here's the thing is when and I've so lived there most of my life, when you go into the studio and you don't have any choice other than, oh Lord, how do I make these notes come out and not be horrific? Then 10 takes is like being pulled through the mud on the back end of a horse. Off the back end of a horse. But if you go into the studio and you're like, first take, they're like, oh, they love it, and you're like, yeah, I could do better. Yeah, no, but and it's if first take is good enough for the producer, then you get to say, well, now I don't have to be distracted by, oh no, what about that note? Oh no, that note's coming. Oh no, when I heard this. You get to just like, when it doesn't work out, you're like, pick from another take, whatever. I did it right somewhere, and then you get to play. Then you get to say, well, what if I decide to style that differently? What if I decide to go off and do some little trill? I don't know, I just got some harebrained idea. Let's just see. You get more time to play in the studio. And I love being in the studio. For many years, I probably would have preferred to be a singer in a studio than a singer live. Probably outside of worship, that's probably still the case. And jazz. I do love me some jazz singing live. But so how many takes will it take when you have a well-trained, balanced voice, which you're already on the road to? Less. Many less. But then you'll probably still stay there just as long because you'll want to best yourself. And it's not, you're not going to have one perfect take. Nobody has a perfect take.
Right.
And and Trish is like nodding because when you hear yourself in the studio, you hear everything you never knew you did wrong when you didn't have those headphones on. So, and Trisha, you've only been with me, gosh, it hasn't been maybe a month. I don't know. It's not very long, 6 weeks. I don't know. But and you've already had a chance to go in the studio, and we're already talking about you're going to work on a special project in the fall because by fall you're going to be to fund them.
Right.
So
right.
Tell me though, because you had a couple recording experiences. One right before we started that we kind of by email tried to fix some things, and then you went back in right after you started with me. So what have you experienced so far?
Well, I would say, and the reason I'm nodding is because there is such a difference when your voice is more balanced. It is a lot more fun because it's easier. And because it's easier, then you want to do it more. So you do want to stay and you want to do another take just because you are having so much fun. So at the beginning of the project, and I think I may even said this to you, Kim, it's like I had this love-hate relationship with the studio. I love being in the studio. I love the creativity of it, the musicianship of it. I love all of that. But I hate the pressure that I put on myself when I hear something and I don't like it, and then it just kind of snowballs and gets worse from there, because now you got to take another take, but you're mad at yourself and you're upset because you can't do something you want to, but you want to take another take, and it's like,
And then it
and
goes
then you
downhill.
kind of want, and you talk about taking time. Now this is where it takes time, because you're walking out of that box. I always tell the girls, get in the box. You're walking out of that box and you are frustrated. Well, that doesn't make for a good recording session at all.
True.
At all. So when you have a good balance, so that was kind of my what was going on at the beginning of the project. By the end of the project, by the time I got in there and I aced Victor's Crown, I was like, I got in there, I did it in one take. The producer was like, whoa, okay, that was good. I was like, no, let's do it again. Yeah, no, I was like, let's do it again. And it is so true that not, and he even said this, he said, you know, as a sound engineer, which he is constantly, he says, I don't know one voice that is consistently the same, and consistently perfect. So a lot of the times the takes are, okay, we're going to get take 4 run-throughs, complete run-throughs of the song, and if the great sound engineer is going to go, and if he hears something that's kind of wonky or unstable or just whatever, he's going to go and pull from another one of those takes, and that's so great. But the beautiful thing is to be able to walk in there and feel good about the first take, to feel really almost like that. I really could go with that. Now, let me hear it back. All right, I really didn't. I could do that better. Let's do it again. I mean, so you're talking about time-wise, you could knock it out. I mean, literally, you can knock out. You know, I know 30 minutes sounds like that's a long time to be going through 4 takes, but you're talking about listening back. And,
you pay by the hour in the studio, but one song easily. I mean,
yeah, but that's a well-balanced voice.
Takes to give them generally the first 2 takes to lay down a solid. Hey, there you go. There's stuff to pick from, and then 3, 4, 5 takes where you play. Right. So you can have jewelry to pick from.
Yeah. And that's at least 30 minutes, I would say, and then at least 30 minutes with a good, well-balanced, strong voice. If it's not, we're talking an hour at least.
Oh, yeah, and you hate yourself, and then they're saying, we still didn't get it, you still got to do it, and you're like, oh, can I take a coffee break? And then you go cry in the parking lot. I'm not saying I never have. I'm just saying stories.
Yeah.
Worst thing. Okay, so I'm going to answer because I see we're at the hour mark already. And by the way, I was so thrilled to find out a Google Hangout can go 8 hours because I can talk that long. I'm not going to do that to you, but I have some more questions I'm going to get them to. But I want to answer the question I promised at the end of the hour, which is how to find the perfect key. And I'm gonna do that. So for those of you who can't hang around, and those of you who can, I'm gonna get something super special for you. I'll think of something great. I'll tell you. Okay. By the way, for those of you who can't stay longer, I'm launching a new podcast here in June. If you go to helpmyvoice.com, so you can ask any question about singing, speaking, and it's for voice talent too, because I work with all of those groups. And any question, and probably feature it on the podcast and answer it there too. So, and we'll be doing more of these live Google Hangouts. You can go to thevoiceclub.com. Look like that, whatever that is, .com. That with the. That is the vocal training site. So if you want to find out about next time we do our Google Hangout, it'll be there. Okay, so the answer to what is the perfect key to the song. Okay, so to decipher the perfect key for the song, let's say we're going to do Victor's Crown. Let's just use that as our example because it's a horrible, hard song, and it actually is going to answer my next question that I have up here too. So, hallelujah, you have overcome, you have overcome. Let's say, hallelujah, Jesus, you have overcome the world, which only goes to the chorus twice, but some people repeat that bridge like 17 times. Here's the thing. You find, that's the password, Kim. You find the where the hard notes are that hit most often. So if you have a girl singing, they're like, oh, okay, well, the whole thing is hard. Don't accept that. So let's say you're a girl and you're like, yeah, the whole thing is hard. Okay, well, the chorus is harder than the verse, and the bridge is really harder than the chorus. So narrow it down more of that. Say what syllables of what words are the hardest to sing. Ask your girl section. Let's say you got a girl section and a guy section in an ideal world, right? So they're going to tell you it's right in there, all those notes. And guess where the female bridge is, people? That That's why they're hard. So I'm going to give you generalization. This is not true of every voice, but in this general neighborhood, these are the bridges of guys and girls. That means these are the places where they're going to be most difficult to sing because the muscles are transitioning, the groups are transitioning. So we have, for females, if you're writing this down, here we go. G sharp to C in every octave. If you have a song that has power notes that sit in that range, often you're going to kill your women. They're going to give you that I'll pray for your brother on Sunday look, but they are going to pray something else during the week. I'm just saying. Not that I've done it. Okay, but then you have guys. Well, guess where guys' bridge is in general? In general, D, F sharp. So, well, okay, so we want to put that song where those hardest notes don't sit between there and, where was I? There's only like 2 notes between those 2 bridges. So here's what you do. You pick a song. I'm gonna pick a different song. Let's see. Pick another song. I hate picking songs. Trisha, pick a song. Pick a song everybody knows. Pick a Chris Tomlin one. Guys hate those.
Oh gosh. Chris Tomlin. How about Bless the Lord?
Sing a part of it.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul.
Oh, yes. But it has to build, right? So it's not bless the Lord, it's bless the Lord, oh my soul, right? So, okay, so bless the Lord, oh my soul, da 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 da, bless the Lord, really is where it tends to get tough. That's actually a good key. C is actually a good key because, well, that's in the middle of the guy bridge. Here's the guy bridge. Girl bridge starts right in here. So what you want to do is you want to identify the hardest notes. So it's syllables. The hardest notes of the song, they're all over the place, but generally they're usually some line in the chorus that you're singing 17 times. And you want to say, okay, so what key can we put this song in where those notes, and there's only a few of them, do not sit in the smack dab middle of the female bridge or the male bridge. And that is how we arrive at the perfect key for any song for both guys and girls to sing to. So there's not a magic, oh, sing in the key of A is wonderful. It has nothing to do with the key. It has everything to do with the notes and what words are being sung on those notes and stylistically what you have to do when you get there. It's way more complicated than picking a key. So you pick what are the difficult syllables, what notes are those difficult syllables on that you repeat 17 times in that song, and then what key can you put that song in so that those difficult little, just few notes do not sit in the middle of, you can't avoid completely the male and the female bridge, but so that the majority of those notes do not sit in the middle of D to F sharp, or what is that, G sharp to C, generally. That is how you arrive at the perfect key. Thank you for asking and thank you for waiting for that. But those of you who are sticking around, I'm coming up with a real wanging danger. I'm going to answer something fabulous if you stay with me, because I'm going to stay here until I get done answering questions. And Trisha's got nowhere to go, right? Because you got storms. You're not going out in the rain.
No. Yeah, but my daughter just came home from college, so she's...
No, sorry, I'm more important.
Yes, you are. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Okay. Van Ray says, my question is that sometimes using high notes while worshiping is really hard. And we talked about this. I think you may have missed the beginning. I can't tell when people are coming and going because I ain't good enough at this thing yet. But in the beginning of the session, I talked about when the biggest problem for worship leaders is really high, straining, painful notes. So make sure you go back and watch the video once we're done here. It'll post by tomorrow. It'll be on YouTube. So make sure. But I'm gonna recap it for you a little bit. What's your advice on singing the high notes that are really, really hard? A well-balanced trained voice is the only true answer to any vocal question. It just is. I know, because I spent billions of dollars, well, at least thousands and thousands of dollars, training in every method known to humankind in the United States. I didn't venture out of the country, but I literally studied every technique there was looking for answers for my voice. So I know, and I've sung every genre, I include rap only because I did the fun rap, but if you want to laugh, go to...
You have to see the video. You have to see it.
I should pull it up in a Google Hangout sometime. Go to youtube.com and Google, not Google, but YouTube, search Yo Mama Raps, one word,
Yes.
Y-O-M-A-M-A. R-A-P-S,
It's
And you'll
great.
see me, and that's that song that I wrote for my son. It's an aha moment. It really is really deeply touching if you see the video. Um, that is the song that I did so that I can say I have now sung every major genre, including rap, because rap is now a major genre,
It's
according to
very
yourself.
good.
So, so I've sung every major genre. I've had to sing it at a professional level. So in the studio or live, I've had to sing every major genre, and style it in a way that sounds authentic. So I have to sing country like I'm a country singer. I have to sing jazz like I'm a jazz singer. And yeah, so you have to be able to do that. And you have to be able to do all those notes and all those different things that you have to do. And there are a lot of band-aids out there, a whole lot of band-aids about how to get to a high note and how to get to a power note and how to sustain notes longer. There's lots of 3 simple tips too. But I'm telling you, the only answer to how to do it all the time, and to do it all successfully is a well-balanced, trained voice, trained from the perspective of the science of the anatomy of how the voice works. Because once you get under the hood, I call myself a vocal mechanic. I used to tell our teachers, we're vocal mechanics. If they don't know what to look for and what to expect under there, then they don't know what's wrong, and they don't know how to fix it, and they can't explain to you why. And the few people that I know that teach really great technique don't ever explain the why, which is why I mean, I never set out to teach. God's plan for me. It wasn't my plan for myself. I'm still arguing with him about it sometimes. But the only way to do it successfully is to have a well-balanced, trained voice. But the tips that I've given you through this Google Hangout will set you in the right direction. Make sure you use your microphone when you go for a high power note. Make sure your microphone is aiming at your chin, not your nose, and that you should get closer, not farther away from your mic when you go for a power note, and your chin should go down. That allows you to back off the volume. The volume is the fuel for the forest fire that is chest voice, that if it gets out of balance will cause problems and potentially damage to your voice. So short answer is those are the band-aids I can give you to reduce the strain and the pain of going for a high note, to increase the chance of success. But the only way to guarantee success all the time is to have a well-balanced, trained voice. It just is. I keep telling people, I do all these YouTube videos, and it's like 3 tips to, which I love, because I'm a like, let's get going kind of girl. But I can't fix everything in one YouTube video. If I could, I would have done it already, because I like to move on. That's why I like to be a jingle singer. Yeah, I was off to something else. Okay, I think these are not coming to me in order, because I'm just going next, next, next. Austin says he is singing. It was probably half an hour ago. I don't know. I'm just clicking next. Okay. He says next time for sure. Okay, thank you, Austin. I will expect you go Google that. As I tell my kids, go look it up on the interweb.
Right.
Okay. All right. And they're talking amongst themselves, and everybody, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, look, a little community talking amongst themselves things. Okay.
I
What?
can't.
You can't what?
I can't. How come I can't see that? What they're talking about?
Because you're a special guest.
Oh,
You have to wait for me to say it.
wait. Oh, I see it. Hold on. Come
I
back.
know, but somebody's laughing out loud again. Oh, that's a rowdy crowd. Now, you guys, once we figure this out, it's going to be like dynamite. Because I figure we're going to do this like every 4 to 6 weeks, and I can have up to 8 other people, and I can make them all sing things.
Yes, that would be beautiful.
That would be fun. Um, oh, I can't tell that story tonight. Not enough time. Okay, so how do you get rid of a pest? I see this. I think this is going backwards. The questions. I think that's what it's doing. How do you get rid of pesky mucus in your throat? It never really seems to go away, even with Mucinex water and eating chips. Any other ideas? Oh, Cindy, I'm so glad you asked this question. This is a question that people at worship conferences don't ask because they think they know the answer, but they've tried the answer and it doesn't work. Let me tell you a little story, Cindy. All right, so one of my wonderful, wonderful churches that I was privileged to serve at in Sacramento. Which way did I part my hair? There we go. Was Adventure Christian Church in Rockland, Roseville. It's just north of Sacramento. Lincoln Brewster has his church, Bayside. They're like in the same neighborhood. So, and it's a sizable church. I don't know, like I don't know, maybe 3,000-ish or something. So, and bigger churches tend to bring in specialists to, work on different things, and they have people in at worship conferences and stuff. And there was this couple that do some kind of, I can't remember, it's been a long time since I've looked into it, because I had to look into it when I started going to Adventure, and I heard this story, and I thought, oh, tell me this is not true. Please tell me people are not going around on a circuit to worship conferences telling people this about their voice. Please, please, Lord, please say it isn't so. So I had to research it, and it was true. they had been told, and it was probably one of those big mega worship conferences that came through by these people that tour all over the country, have these big churches in the green room. And this is how I found this out. I'm in the green room, right? This little waiting room you wait to go back on stage, and they'll put out and all the wonderful servant-hearted women, which I always wish I was, but I'm not. I'm the one that I show up early, but I'm there to help the audio producer because I want to work with sound and lug gear. I don't want to bring donuts, and I don't make coffee. You don't want to drink my coffee. But these wonderful women bring the fruit trays and they prepare everything, and I'm just like, oh, I wish I could be that kind of woman. God didn't make me one. You don't want to drink my coffee. So, and they would put in fruit, and they've got juice, and they've got all these wonderful things, eat light in the morning so your tummy doesn't get upset. And then in the middle of the giant table, a giant bowl of potato chips. And I just thought, what? And I was new at the time. I was new to the church. And so, when you're new at a church, you don't come in and go, oh, I'm a vocal director, and I would just like to give you some advice on what you're doing wrong. You just don't. I mean, maybe somebody does. I don't. So I thought, I got to know. I got to ask somebody. So we're sitting back there and getting ready and everything. And I just kind of nudged the person next to me and I said, what's up with the potato chips? And they said, oh, you've had some, haven't you? And I said, no, I didn't. No, I'm not a chip person. And they said, well, you got to get some. We're going on like 20 minutes. You got to get some chips. And I'm like, well, why would I eat chips? And they said, well, because it greases your throat so you can sing. And then, so over the weeks of being on team and choir and all this stuff, I'm back in the green room and I'm trying to get to know people because I'm on a mission now. I'm like, I got to find out what the heck somebody told these people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to get to the point where I was brave enough to say, uh-uh. So here's the deal. Someone was going around, and this is when Cindy says she's tried eating chips. This goes back to the fact that 5% of the instruction out there has anything to do with the anatomy of the voice. If you're a doctor and you're going to solve a problem that's going on, physical problem in the body, it's probably important that you have a good understanding of the anatomy of that part of the body. Yet we have singing teachers all over the country, wonderful, wonderful people. My mom taught classical voice for most of her life. Wonderful, wonderful people that are teaching things that manipulate the anatomy of the voice without knowing anything about the anatomy of the voice. So I'm going to give you a mini anatomy lesson because I have to, because everything with mucinex, mucus, dehydration, chips, this all has to do with your larynx. If you were to have, we're going to have a comic book series. The hero is total vocal balance. That's who gets to wear the cape. Matter of fact, when we on one of our logos, Sing Better Faster, it has the woman with a cape.
That's not you? That's not you? Is that you?
No, I don't look that good in a cape. I wear a cape all the time. Are you kidding me? No, it's probably you. You look good in a cape. Now, every time it flashes to you, I keep thinking my hair looks so flat compared to yours. I just want to fluff. Okay.
Tease it.
So girls shouldn't do Google Hangouts. We can't do this. Okay. So the vocal cords, which if you go back and watch the beginning, I talk about the vocal cords, what they're made of and what size they are. They live inside of a house. The house is called the larynx. The larynx is just a box of cartilage. I just call it the house for vocal cords because I am a simple white girl. So, guys, if you put your finger down your throat, you feel your Adam's apple. That's where your larynx is. Girls, we don't really have an Adam's apple. You're not supposed to. Just saying. But it's in the middle there. You should never, by the way, move this way on your throat anywhere. You can literally damage your vocal cords and permanently hurt stuff. Don't do that. Don't let your kids do that when they're goofing around. Okay, so the cartilage, the larynx, the house that the vocal cords are in the windpipe. So the way that we make sound does not have to do with how much air we push, and this is another one of those singing myths. You just need a bigger breath. You need to hold it in your diaphragm. There's a lot of stuff people say, again, not based in how the voice works. But what happens in the process of making sound is that the body draws sound in to the lungs and to some extent the diaphragm, and when it comes back out, what's responsible for making it sound is not the air, or else would be singing. Because that's what happens when your vocal cords are open. You go, and Cindy, I'm really dehydrated right now, so I'm feeling for your question. I'm out of liquid. I'm going to suck my ice down. The reason I have a catch in my throat has to do with your question, too. I'm still feeling this question right now. So, your vocal cords are in your windpipe, and it's the muscles that close your vocal cords that close over the air, right? Sound is created when the cords resist the air. So if you think of barn doors on a big old barn, they're kind of broken and it's, you can see air through them. Big windstorm comes along, like one in Texas where my friends Trisha and
Austin.
thank you.
Isn't Austin in Texas?
Yes. Are both in Texas. You get a big old Texas windstorm comes along and you got a really old barn door, you get whoosh. That's what happens when your vocal cords are open. Air just rushes out. But if you have a really one of those nice modern wooden barn doors, nice and tight all the way through, giant barn doors, and nice and tight and closed, that windstorm comes through and you might hear woo. That is the principle of how sound is made. It is the resistance against the air that determines the quality of the sound. It is not the air. Air is just a secondary player. So holding more air, blowing more air, big windstorm, little windstorm, doesn't matter. It depends on how closed your doors are that will determine the quality of your sound. Oh gosh, sometime I'm going to do a Google Hangout. We're going to talk about vocal damage. I'm going to tell my whole story, and then I'll give you some great personal stories of how I can prove that it takes next to no air to make really high quality power sound. Doesn't seem real, but it is. I will prove it later. Okay, so what happens when the larynx bounces up and down when we talk and stuff, it kind of moves up and down, and if while you're talking, if you just kind of put your hand here, you'll just kind of feel that this little ball kind of goes up and down. It's supposed to do that, right? And if you swallow, you'll feel it and it bounces a little bit higher. It's kind of hard to tell just from feeling, but if you look at what's going on in the actual internal structure, the whole larynx just goes up. Now the reason is because when the larynx goes up, its job, the whole reason the larynx goes up that far is to close the epiglottis, which is the little flap that keeps you sucking from the sucking liquid down your windpipe where we don't want it. So if you have oh, I always do this one. Okay, so if you say, and Trish, you can be my example. Okay, so say ABC.
ABC.
Okay, now swallow. And see, it didn't hear the swallow, so it didn't move over to a video. Now do both at the same time. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, I can't do that.
No, you can't. You can't because, and this is why people think, well, I just need more air or this or that, or and it'll all be answered. No, think about the way that the voice works. The windpipe is where the vocal cords live. If that larynx gets yanked up, and this is why we're like not splatting and we're keeping the chin down and all the stuff I was talking about earlier. This is why. In our comic book story where total vocal balance is the hero, the arch nemesis is a heightened larynx, a larynx yanked up. Okay, larynx is supposed to just sit down there and chill out and bobble around. Then he's a good guy, but when he gets up, he is evil because he closes the windpipe. And this is what happens when we strain for notes. And the reason we literally are strangling ourselves is when we do that, we raise the larynx, closes the windpipe. You're trying to push sound out of the windpipe, but you're closing the door to it. Don't do that. It causes problems. That's why it causes vocal damage, because everything in here gets backed up and is trying to shove and strain to push wind out past the vocal cords, past the flap that you've closed at the top. Why would you do yourself that? Okay, so here's where mucus comes in. And hydration and all that. When we get a cold coming on or going off, or allergies, people that suffer from allergies a lot, mucus forms, and it tends to sit right around it. I need some graphic examples. So if you have the windpipe, and this is the flap that closes it, the mucus tends to sit right around that flap because there's just bumps and stuff in your throat. So when you get gunk, phlegm and mucus and stuff, it tends to collect in here. When you don't have a cold, you don't really notice it. It's moist in there. It's just not thick because you're not sick or you don't have allergies or whatever else is not going on. So what happens, this is why we get this because it feels like it's hard for that flap to get going because it gets stuck down there is what happens. So in the case of dehydration, when the body's tissues are dehydrated, like today, because I'm on this medication that makes me extremely dehydrated, I always forget to take because then I can do voiceovers for hours, but I took it today and forgot I had to do this thing tonight, and now I have a catch in my throat. It's the opposite. There's not thick mucus sitting around that flap, but instead all of those tissues that are usually slimy so that things can move are dried out, and everything gets kind of just dried out and cranky like me after 45, right? Say yes.
No.
Say yes, Trisha.
No.
Okay, so that's the anatomy of how the voice is working. And so when we think about anything you're going to eat is not going to benefit your voice because it goes down your food tube. It's going to go past that flap down to your stomach. Here's the problem with, and I've spoken at churches and worship conferences where people have been told to drink olive oil. Is it not a new one for you, Tricia? Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah, either that or yes, or
Have you heard the chip myth too?
oh my gosh, yes, that's
Oh,
so popular.
I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah,
so
I've never personally done
prayer,
it.
right?
Yeah, I've never personally done it. Because I have reflex. There's no way I can eat generally before I sing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've never done it, but I know a ton of people who
Okay.
do that.
Yes. Okay. So let's think about the kind of oil. I'm not a health nut. I am so not a health nut. But let's kind of think about the kind of oil that's in chips. It's that thick hydrogenated, whatever they call it, oil.
Yeah,
It's lard.
yeah.
So let's eat some chips that are deep fried in lard and let lard collect in our esophagus and pile up right around that flap that we need to open smoothly to be able to get sound out before
Mm-hmm.
we sing. We must suck down oil. We must gunk up the gears before we try to move them. No. It's a myth. It's an absolute, I don't know who came up with this, but it is such a lie.
Right.
It's beyond a myth, it's a lie. Do not eat chips. Do not eat anything greasy. Grease collects all the way down to the food pipe, and it's got to go past that flap. And that flap opens and closes, but it's connected at a certain point, and that's where all the gunk collects. So if you get mucus that's because of a cold or allergies, the best thing you can do, steam is really, really good. I have a special, here's a special extra, something for those of you who stayed later. Steam, obviously, we used to put a towel over our head and suck it in. Now they got, like plug in a machine to make steam, which is great because it thins the mucus. Um, Saline nasal spray is your best bet for allergies and colds before you sing because while it has salt in it, salt is generally a dehydrating thing we don't want to have because it'll dehydrate the tissues, and then we have that issue because we can be we're bad on either side of that, too mucusy, too gunky, or too thin and too dry. We don't want to be either, right? So usually saline spray is not something you want to be putting in your nose, which goes down to your food pipe. You don't want to do that unless you have really severe gunk. You also want to make sure that any cold stuff that you take, any like cold, what am I thinking? Cold lozenges?
Some decongestant.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Decongestants will over dry. So if you sing even in a choir and you got a big Easter Christmas thing coming up and you're on a decongestant, tell your doctor, I got a big singing thing coming up. I need something that will not dry me out. You need to tell your doctor that because they'll automatically just give it to you. The demands on the voice for a singer, even if you don't normally sing, let's say you sing twice a year. You're in the Easter cantata and the Christmas cantata, if churches still have cantatas, I don't even know. You want to tell your doctor that, make sure that you have a substitute for that. But when you have a cold or mucus, what you want to do, the reason you want a saline spray is because it doesn't have the extra dehydrating factors that medication has that will dehydrate other tissues in the body because it goes through the system. This just goes down the throat and it tends to dry up to some extent the mucus so that not as much gunk can get around the rim of the epiglottis. So that's what you want. And here's your extra bonus tip. When I lived in Kansas City, oh man, that's when I was on the indie label and I was touring, I was doing festivals and I was doing all sorts of stuff and I was doing voiceovers and jingles. I was going all the time. And I had the worst allergies of my life. And I had to find something beyond that traditional how to fix this issue. And I found my answer in my chiropractor. And I haven't, honestly, I still go to the chiropractor and I don't have one that does what my chiropractor then did. So I think you kind of have to seek out one and ask them if they do this, but it's called a lot of chiropractors have them. I just don't know if they use them, but they have neural stimulators. Sometimes they'll put a machine on your back and they'll like squeeze and like go and squeeze. I think it's like that ab tightening thing, but I'm not sure. But he had a stimulator wand, so a stim wand. and it looked like a lollipop, a really long stick, and it had a little stimulator in muscle stimulator in the top of the wand. And when I had to go, like if I had to go do a 4-hour thing, I had to go sing for 4 hours and I was really sick, I would stop by the chiropractor before I went to that event, and he would rub the wand. I'm not kidding, it totally, this is so true. He would rub this wand up and down, and he explained the process to me because I'm so interested in the why. It has something to do with the chemistry of mucus. It destabilizes it, and I could literally feel the mucus drain down,
Wow.
down, and I would, swallow it and be done with it. And then I could sing through that 4-hour set and be fine, and it would take about 6 hours, and then it would build back up. So for really high need, there are special things your chiropractor can do for your voice. I'm just saying, for you worship leaders, you get really, really sick, you want to avoid menthol in any cough drops. That will dehydrate your tissues. You do not want to be dehydrated because then you have the other problem. You do not want to take any antihistamine with anything drying in it. That's why you ask your doctor. Don't just take stuff over the counter. If you're singing a lot, you really need to make your doctor aware of that fact. And they don't have to know a lot about how the voice works if that's not their area of specialty, which it probably isn't, but they do need to know that you want something that's not dehydrating to the tissues of your body. That's what they need to know. Let's see. Okay, so pesky mucus, lots of water. This is another thing that you do on top of saline sprays, and the neti pot, which is the grossest thing in the world, but it totally works because it's saline solution going through and clearing out your sinuses. The neti pot before a service, and then put your makeup back on, ladies, because it won't last. Nasal spray, the saline only nasal spray. The other thing you need to be doing is staying hydrated, and I am the worst person for this, but your body is like 98% water. All the tissues, like we talked about, your vocal cords are slimy tissues. They need to stay slimy. That means your body needs to stay hydrated for everything to work correctly. You cannot get rehydrated Sunday morning. It takes up to 2 weeks, sometimes longer, for your body to get rehydrated when you've been dehydrated. So if you think about the fact that it takes not 8 cups, 8-ounce cups of water to stay hydrated, but for a singer, 10 to 12 8-ounce cups, literal cups, of water or any liquid without sodium and caffeine and stuff in it, like green tea, per day to stay hydrated. If you have let's say you're in the big Christmas program, you don't usually sing, you got a cold and you're taking stuff and now you're feeling dried out and it's 2 weeks away, you better be drinking green tea and water like nobody's business, because that will help to thin that mucus out as well. That will make the saline spray more effective because it won't have as much work to do. And then go see your chiropractor and get that stim one thing done.
Can I interject there? Okay, I was going to say something that I have, because Afrin has always been my friend. I cannot sing if I feel any sort of congestion in my nose. If I feel like I can't breathe through my nose, or if it sounds nasal or whatever, I just can't do it. So I would use Afrin. Of course, Afrin is awful for those membranes. I mean, it'll clear it out in a second, but it dries it out so bad and dries out your throat. I have just discovered essential oils. And if you take peppermint, essential oil peppermint, and just smell it. Okay, look, I have it right here. Look, little peppermint, and you just smell it. It clears it out. It's just like Afrin. It's fabulous. But if you put this in hot water with some other, maybe lemon or whatever essential oils in hot water, the steam that rises up and hits your nose, kind of like that steamer, it just goes right in, and then you drink it. It's so soothing for the throat. And so because they're natural oils, they're not going to be like the gunky oils that get in there and clog it up. It just completely clears it up, and it's a natural product. Excellent.
It's the aroma from the oil. It's not the oil. You never want oil.
Right.
Anything with grease or oil, any more than you're going to go eat 3 Big Macs and then go sing.
Right.
Digestion, all sorts of other issues, yes. But on the note of essential oils, peppermint, like peppermint tea, is good to soothe the stomach. So if you have a nervous stomach, or you did eat a taco an hour before because it was the only thing in the green room, you should not do that. By the way, do not order pizza before a big choir thing.
Yeah, who's doing that? Who's ordering those things?
The people who are pushing the potato chips, probably.
Yeah, people who are not singers.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if you just get some, and my favorite thing to use that is most effective, that I use in the studio all the time to be able to have my voice last a long time when there's a lot of demand, like you're doing a 4-hour session going through stuff, and singing takes a lot out of your voice, but voiceovers at a high level takes a lot out of your voice as well. You dry out because you're blowing air out your throat. You dry out really fast, and that is throat coat tea. You'll find it in the herbal section, any grocery store anymore. In the herbal tea section, it's literally called throat coat. The reason is it has licorice bark and slippery elm in it, which are two natural products that literally just create a slippery film, and that's the best way I can explain it. They create a really super thin, which is the important thing because we don't want gunk. They create a really slippery film down your esophagus. Again, they don't go under your windpipe; they go down to your stomach. So your esophagus, your throat down to the flap, the epiglottis, and then down your esophagus. That will keep that flap. It's kind of like the right kind of oil in the hinge. Throat coat, you could put it in warm water or you can put it in a water bottle, but note to self and to you, if you put it in your water bottle, which I used to do all the time Sunday morning, until I realized after it took me 3 Sundays, I was sleep deprived, 3 Sundays to figure this out, 20 minutes sitting in a bottle of water and that tea bag disintegrates. Nasty. You do not want it. Tastes a little like black licorice. Even if you don't like black licorice, I've had some people that don't like black licorice that still can tolerate it fine. When I went through my major medical stuff, I had all sorts of people telling me I needed to have licorice root powder and then just in a paste, because for some other stuff, I could not stand it, could not tolerate it. Throat coat tea is nothing compared to that stuff. So it's real easy. And on the line of essential oils, because you're breathing them in, again, it's not oil going down your throat and sitting on the flap, which is important. If you're going to do peppermint, which is great to clear, and they have peppermint tea for the same reason, it makes you feel good, it calms your stomach, and it also helps clear up your sinuses, so you can get peppermint tea as well. If you're going to use the essential oils, put a little sweet orange essence in there, which is a natural antidepressant. It makes you happy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be decongestant, why wouldn't you want to be extra happy if you're going to get up on stage? You want to smile at people. So, all right. So I'm trying to, I think I got through all the questions. I know some people were having some trouble figuring out how to get in, and I empathize with you because this is my first Google Hangout, and I didn't know how to get people to join the call either. So we're going to get better at this every single time that we do it, and I'm scrolling down here real quick to see if I missed any questions. Trisha, tell me the most valuable thing you've learned so far about your voice.
That there's always potential for growth and to get better. I mean, literally, I'm older than Kim, but I'm encouraged. I am so encouraged that I can be so much better. And literally, I'm at a point right now where I can't wait to. Now I had other circumstances that I had to deal with today, but literally that's what I want to do. All I want to do is one night I didn't go to bed till 3 in the morning because all I was doing was vocalizing, and then I would go and sing a song, and it would just be it'd blow me away, the changes. So what I'm encouraged about is that, one, it is fast. It's better faster. 2, that it's even possible. I mean, I'm like Kim. I have been to so many people trying to find the answers, and all they say is, "Oh, it's just so good. You're just so good." And I'm sitting there going, "Are you crazy? What's wrong with you?" And I leave and I go to the next person, and they're saying, "Oh, it's just so good." And so if I know that something is wrong and they're not identifying it, and all they want to do is just pat me on the head, it's just something wrong. So I'm encouraged that there's still growth, that it's still better, that it's stronger. It's stronger than it's ever been. And so that just tells me that it can only get better. And that's exciting for me. I don't want to stop singing. And I have heard so many people say, well, once you get to a certain age, your vibrato gets so wide and and your vocal cords get weak. And they talk about people. I mean, some of these young worship leaders are talking about all these older people and how they have to quit singing because they're older. I'm not done.
That one.
I'm not done.
I just want to say really quick, I did not invite Trisha on as a commercial.
Well, I mean, you can't.
She's the only one brave enough to get in or found her way. I happen to be in, and I'm using her as a guinea pig. So I appreciate the kind things that you said, Trisha. But
it's true. It's true.
I'm not selling anything.
Yeah, no, but it's true. And I would encourage, and let me sell to, if you care at all about being better. Listen, we've all had someone whether they meant to or not, or they thought they were helping us, said something that was derogatory to us, that we took personally, that hurt us to a degree that we decided, well, I can't ever do that, or I can't ever sing, or I won't ever be that good, or I can't ever get better, or, oh, I know this is what he said. This is one of the things you asked me if my producer said. He said, maybe you're just structurally, your anatomy is made that way, and you cannot ever be any better, that this is all you
No
have.
hope for you.
This is all you've got. That was probably the most frustrating thing anybody could ever say. If I weren't a determined person, I would have gone, oh, you're probably right. And that would have been it. I mean, I would quit. You just want to quit. But I knew that was not right. I knew that there was so much more, and I knew that there was a possibility of getting better. So, if anybody's ever said something to you like that, that's defeating, or that you've taken on that, let me just tell you, it is not true. It is not true. There's so much more potential in your voice, and I don't care where you are, what level you are. There's always so much more, and so much. If you have a teachable spirit, if you have an opportunity to let someone, like Kim has said, we'll go through vocalizing in a session, and she's like, I'm here to make you sound ugly, because then we're going to build from there. And let me just tell you, sometimes it's awful, but it's allowed me to find those places and identify those weak spots so that I can work on them. If you don't want to work, if you don't want to admit to yourself that you have weaknesses, don't do it. Don't just stay where you are and just go along your little path. But if you really want to get better, and you can, and you really, really can, and it's going to take some work, and it's going to take some humility, and it's going to take some some time to say, I got this weakness, and admit it, and then admit it to not just Kim, but other people, and then y'all can get together and say, we've got this stuff going on, and support each other.
Back to your church and go up to another singer and say, here's what I'm struggling with in my own voice. What are you struggling with?
Yeah.
So you don't have to say, oh, I don't know, I didn't sound that good, did I? Which is what ends up coming out. And then once it's out our mouth, we think, oh, no, I just asked for a compliment. They think I just asked for a compliment because I'm insecure. Oh, great. Now I look like an egomaniac, right? Right. I really hated how that felt when I went for that high note. What do you struggle with in your voice?
Right.
So it's not a tell me I'm good. It's we have problems,
right.
Plural.
Yeah.
Let's get there. I mean, we talk about everything else. Oh my goodness, Jerry Springer's still on TV. There's nothing unspoken of on television. Dr. Oz has got life-size models 10 times bigger of every body function. But we can't talk about the fact that we are having pain and strain after we sing 7 services.
Right.
Or and usually it's because we don't know that there's something that can be done about it. We think, I don't want to say that because then it lets people know if they're not having that problem, I must be not that good. Like you said, I'm not anatomically created for that. I just must be as good as I can get. And I have to tell you really quick as we wrap up, I grew up in a singing family, as I said in the beginning, and I was the youngest of 3 sisters, and we were always told we were born because my oldest sister needed backup singers. She was a natural singer. She's really good, really, I mean, just naturally talented. But by the time I was 15, we started singing in the studio, and the reason we got opportunity to sing jingles is because the 3 of us harmonized so well, and it's really hard to find singers that their tone matches like family members do, because it has to do with the gene pool thing. So we were brought in as a group to sing harmonies on all these jingles. My middle sister was really shy. She bowed out right away. So that left my normally, I mean, my oldest sister's just got a pushy nature to it. And I'm a pushy girl too, but I'm totally not competitive. I'm a happy pushy girl. So she always wanted to compete, because then it was like, who got the solos and who got assigned this and and that was like not fun for me, because I knew I was bad. I knew I could not sing like her. But I was like the little engine that could. I always thought, there's got to be a way to get better, because the thing that I knew at that age, I love being in the studio. And if I get a chance, and if on top of that someone will pay me to go in the studio and sing, I'm going to figure out how to get good at this real quick. And I will have to work 100 times harder than her because it comes naturally to her. I'm okay with that. And that's really what launched my lifelong search to try to answer the vocal problems I had, because I wasn't willing to accept that I wasn't going to get any better, honestly, because the only reason I didn't accept it and quit is because people were paying me to sing, and I felt obligated to be as good as they thought they were going to get. So
Mhm.
I mean, and I'm so glad that I was a really crappy singer. It's the whole reason that I know what I know today, and I'm able to encourage other singers and um, and work with worshipers. Which, oh man, if there's not a better reason to get good at what you do, you know, those guitarists, Sunday morning, they get their solo and stuff. You think they just woke up one day and played like that? No. So why is it your band can sit there and talk about, oh yeah, I've been learning this. Oh, and I learned this really cool thing. Oh yeah, I've been studying that, and that's cool. But a singer can't say that they need any help with their voice.
Right.
We're supposed to show up and just be perfect. This is a musical instrument. This is not only a musical instrument, but this is a musical instrument that you can't hang up and trade in for a better one like your guitarist can, right? So you not only have to have skill, but you have to work with the instrument that you're given, and that takes the right training. So um, it just does. Just don't believe the lies that are out there.
Right.
I just want to invite you guys, if you want to find out more about what we do, and again, this is not to push anything. I have a ton of stuff on my mailing list. I send out all sorts of cute little cheat sheets and charts and stuff. Thevoiceclub.com, and you'll find all our videos there, our YouTube videos of how to sing. You'll see the how to sing. We've done beautiful, da, da, da. I don't remember unless the words are in front of me, and a couple other worship songs, and we'll be doing more of those. So if you want to ever email me and say, would you do a how to sing about this song? I keep those on a chart, and we go through them one at a time and mix up the genres, but we go through them, and we'll put a video up there eventually. So my email, just so everyone can have it, is kim@thevoiceclub.com. Don't forget our podcast is starting up in June. If you want to ask a question, anything to do with your voice, singing, speaking, or for voice talent, those of you who do that or thought that'd be kind of cool to find out more about, we'll be talking about all those things over at helpmyvoice.com. And there are lots of other domains, but I'm not going to mention any of them. But come join up, and there's a worship mailing list too. And so if you go to thevoiceclub.com/worship, you'll see all the articles that we posted and videos that are just about worship. If you're interested just in that, just go to thevoiceclub.com/worship. You'll find that there, and if you sign up, then we'll send you out an email when we decide to do our next Google Hangout, which will be in the next few weeks. I don't know. I've got special guests in from Canada tomorrow that will be here in the studio, and it just occurred to me I should do another one tomorrow night with the Command Sisters, who are two students I've worked with for several years. They are one of Canada's new country artist award winners. They've sung at the MTV Awards and the MGM Grand, and that's a schmancy places. And I'm not supposed to tell you, but there's several major labels in the United States fighting over them. I didn't tell you that. It's a secret.
Okay.
Most wonderful. I would just love to share them with everybody. I might just get on tomorrow night and do another Google Hangout and do a little interaction time if I could figure this out, so people could get on and ask them some questions, because they're two young girls that are just the coolest people, incredibly talented, who people think, oh, if you make it, it's because you're so naturally talented, or you're not talented and they make you look talented, which happens more often than not. But it's one of those cases where you have really talented people that work their fannies to the bone. They are traveling all the time. They're always working and always trying to improve. And I think up to 12 instruments now they play and study. It's crazy. I don't have that kind of commitment. I do the voice instrument. That's it. All right. I don't see any more questions. Oh, wait, one more. Oh, this is great. I will stay here till, we can go up to 8 hours. We won't. But I will stay here till there are no more questions. We didn't have one, and we do have one. Dina or Deanna, I'm not sure. How do you overcome the difficulty of being in bad voice on Sunday morning? Move your service to Sunday night. I just through a lot of prayer, and I am convinced that Jesus did not mean for us to sing at 6:30 on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's muscle, people. It's muscle. Do you get up and run a marathon at 6:30 in the morning? Think about this. It's muscle works the voice, right? So we say, I'm gonna go play. Let's just take the Olympics. You train for the Olympics, right? You train. You don't just train. You don't just get like, oh, I'm just gonna go to my corner gym and I'm just gonna train to get into the Olympics. No, you get a really good coach who trains Olympic level people, and then they don't compete at 6:30 in the flipping morning, right? So you're at a disadvantage. I don't know who decided church should be that early. It's probably people who wanted to watch football, like my husband, Seahawks fan. I'm just saying. So yeah, we're at a disadvantage because it's muscle that works the vocal cords, and we are getting up early in the morning, and we are fatigued, and we're probably grumpy if we'll admit it. And so we're like, and then we get our coffee. We're like, you're not supposed to eat dairy, yes, because it gunks up your throat, yes. But I am the first person to say there are rules that should be broken because it was not my fault. They call a rehearsal at 6:30 in the morning. Elijah. So sometimes I got to have me a little espresso, and I got to have some milk and sugar in there, and I will overcompensate with it because I know what my voice can do. That's one other benefit of having a well-trained, balanced voice. You sound much better sick, and you can sing, drink coffee, and get away with it, and not have things fall completely apart, which is wonderful. So you get there, and you're like, and then you're supposed to be on and sing. All right. So when you drive, and I'm gonna have Trisha give an example of the bubble slide. Do this on your way to church. Trisha, I want you to do the bubble slide, and I want you to do it with a bend. Do this, and do not bump your head on the steering wheel. Do this at stop signs or stop lights on your way to church. Go.
Oh, oops, sorry.
Wrong way. New girl. Yes. So what she's doing is she's just, yep, this is called the bubble slide. So what you're doing is you're like, if you put your fingers here and go down, you're just going to push up, give yourself a fat bottom lip. Yeah. It's really important that you use your hands. Everybody, including my students, who think they need to stop. Okay. So we had a discussion lately about this. So now I can bubble without my hands. I won't use my hands. No, do it because it disengages muscles and it's there for a purpose. Okay. So you're just pushing up that bottom lip and blowing raspberries like a baby. And then you just put some sound behind it. It might take you a little while to get used to it. And the goal is that you want to start moving before you make sound. And as you bend over, the sound goes up. So it doesn't matter how high you go, how low you start comfortably low, you slide comfortably high, and you do that a few times, at least 5 times before you walk into that building. And as you're waiting for the musicians to tune up and everybody to get their headphones, their levels, and all their amps set exactly where they need to, you just kind of stand there and go. Here's what's happening underneath the hood. When we do that, those 2 muscle groups that work the vocal cords are just warming up. And because you're sliding that tone up and down, they're working in perfect balance. This is the way that you can feel what your voice feels like in perfect balance without having a perfectly well balanced trained voice. It actually does this automatically, unless you have an issue with your speaking voice. Most people don't. It just does this. Muscles work exactly like they should. Cords zip up. So you're basically warming everything up, and you're saying, hey guys, this is the way I'd like you to work together. Could you do that for me? Right? So bubble slides, best thing. And the reason we bend over is because most of you at some point when the note goes up, your chin is going to try to go up. It lifts the larynx. It causes the epiglottis to go, and you strangle yourself. Remember how bad that is? We talked about that. If you haven't seen that, if you came in later, this is going to be on YouTube. Make sure you watch the whole thing. So it's really important that we keep that chin just kind of low and hanging out and real chilled. And the best way to do that is to let gravity pull you over. You're already tired. Heck, you could get a nap on your way down. You do it with your eyes closed. A holy bubble slide. So yeah, that's the best way that you can warm up. And another thing I'll tell you, another little secret tip. If you're a chin puller or you're a power singer, you ever have any pain, strain, pulling, anytime during or after you sing, then between songs, if you can step away from your microphone, I did this once, accidentally forgot to step away from my microphone. You can even do this when the instrumentalists are doing their solo, they're doing the instrumental solo, and you're coming around to that part, you're like, oh man, I about killed myself trying to strain for that note. You can do it then, but I like to do it while I'm waiting to start rehearsal, and I like to do it between songs while the band is like transitioning. I'll back way up from the mic, and I'll just go, So you can go, like you're sinking down into a comfy chair, That just really relaxes the larynx. So for you people who are chin pullers, who the larynx is like in your eyebrows, right? It just kind of resets things. Now, once you sing with bad technique, it's going to lift back up. But if you don't do it, it's not ever going to get reset. The larynx lifts, and then it'll sit down a little bit, but it doesn't sit all the way back down. And it pulls more, and it pulls more, and that's why you feel like you got a rope around your neck by the end of the song or the set, depending on how many power songs you're doing. So I would suggest Hmm. Hmm. You can do this. You can do this in conversation. Okay, I won't tell them that you're doing a vocal exercise. When people are having a conversation with you, go, mm-hmm. You do it nice and slow. You can listen, be empathetic, be responsive, and do vocal warm-ups all at the same time because we believe in multitasking. I haven't given you that one yet, have I, Trisha?
No, no. Well, the yawn, but not the
Yeah,
hmm.
yawn is the other one. Anything that goes relaxes the larynx. And the bubble slide will relax the larynx. But the bubble slide is really to get those muscles moving and handing off exactly like they should, like pistons in a nice sports engine, right? Doing exactly what they need to do and getting all of those gears running like they should. They'll be more likely to start balanced. If you have bad technique, they'll get off balance. It'd be like the racetrack, but they start making loops out here eventually, right? That's why we get good training and we fix stuff. But that'll start you in the best place. Bubble slides, nice gentle way to warm up the vocal cords when you are not awake. Um, Nothing with caffeine in the morning, it'll dehydrate you. By second service, you'll be like, right? Nothing greasy, we talked about that. Nothing spicy because it makes your stomach upset and that does affect the whole process and everything too. So, just have some nice green tea, coffee if you have to. I have to. I have to at 6:30, Elijah. I have to. And then do those a couple other things that'll get your voice working better. Um, I love questions. We will do this again, and I think I've gotten to the end of them. Yes, I am at the end of them. Okay, so in closing, just want to thank you guys so much for joining our first Google Hangout Worship Vocal Masterclass. There's a lot more where this came from. We're going to do them on all sorts of different things because it's fun, and then we'll figure out how to get other people besides Trisha to join, and then you'll be able to come on and sing a part of a song and say I'm having trouble with this, and you'll sing it, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on in your voice. I'll just do it. I won't even charge you. I do this for a living. Bonus help, like I did for Trisha in the email. So any questions or song suggestions you want us to do a how to sing video, kim@thevoiceclub.com. Sign up for our podcast at helpmyvoice.com. And I think that is about it. So that's it. I'm gonna hang up now. If y'all want to sit around, talk amongst yourselves, I'm gonna go put on some Kirk Franklin and worship. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye-bye.